remain under increasing pressure from climate stress, pollution, and persistent governance failures. For over a decade, Action in Bangladesh has worked to bring water back into public conscience through people's movements, community-led water museums, grassroots advocacy, and sustained policy engagement. We are grateful to have you with us in this virtual space as we continue our collective engagement on water justice, accountability, innovation, and regional cooperation. With information about the International Water Conference, since 2016, the International Water Conference organized by Action in Bangladesh has served as a vital platform where local realities connect with global ideas and where water is reaffirmed not as a commodity, but as a fundamental right. To formally begin today's program, it is my honor to invite Farah Kabir, Country Director, Action in Bangladesh, to deliver the welcome and opening remarks, followed by the first segment, which is titled Water Speaks for Water Justice, Cultural and Educational Dimensions of the Water. Appa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Afsana. Distinguished guests, respected speakers, panelists, colleagues, partners, and friends joining us online from Bangladesh and across the globe. A warm welcome to day 2 of the 11th International Water Conference, being organized by Action in Bangladesh. We were very pleased to have robust participation yesterday. And throughout the sessions, we talked about reimagining water governance. What came out immediately was that global water governance was in crisis due to malpractices, policies, disconnected policies, and climate injustice and ecological degradation. Today, we would like to talk about action, because the climate crisis is already reshaping our lives, our communities, and our choices. Day 2 will focus on 4 connected priorities: the climate crisis, innovation for water justice, transboundary water accountability, and regional cooperation. These are not separate agendas. They are part of one reality. Water is changing faster than our systems are responding. So we'd like to start with this short story. In northern Bangladesh, a young farmer recently told us, "My father learned when to plant by reading the river. I learned the same lesson. The river no longer keeps its promise because the river has been encroached upon. Floods arrive without warning, dry seasons last longer, and the climate crisis is not abstract. It is the loss of predictability. And predictability is how people have survived and survive. Across the region, those least responsible for climate change are paying the highest price. This is why climate is not an environmental issue, it is a justice issue. And justice demands innovation, not just new technology and techno-fix, but new ways of thinking. Innovation led by communities, women, youth, indigenous groups, and their knowledge combined with science is the kind of innovation we are talking about. Innovation that serves people and not just efficiency. But innovations without accountability will not take us far. Rivers cross borders, climate risks cross borders, yet decisions are still too often made in isolation. This is why transborder accountability and regional cooperation are no longer optional. They are, in our view, essential. In this context, Bangladesh's accession to the UN Convention is a powerful signal. It tells us that cooperation is possible, transparency matters, and shared rivers require shared responsibility. For Action in Bangladesh, this reflects our commitment to rights-based and participatory water governance, centered on those most affected: women, the youth, the indigenous people, and climate vulnerable communities. Today, in this conference, the conversation will focus on a few important questions like how can innovation advance water justice? How do we make transboundary governance accountable and sustainable? And how can regional cooperation build trust? Because we all know there's a serious trust deficit in this time of uncertainty. Even in this virtual space, the urgency is real. I would like to encourage all of you to engage fully, share experiences, challenges, assumptions, and learn from one another. Let today be about moving from concern to commitment, from ideas to action, from borders to bridges. And with these few opening words, I would like to now express our solidarity and determination and welcome you to day 2 of the 11th International Water Conference. Let water unite us towards justice, resilience, and a shared future. We have a very famous, renowned artist, Farida Parveen. She was a folk artist. We lost her in 2025. She had sung a song called Ei Podda Ei Meghna. It's one of the most renowned and popular songs, and it talks about the rivers in Bangladesh. Let me welcome you with this song.
Ei podda, ei meghna, ei যমুনা সুরমা নদী তাটে এই পদ্মা এই মেঘনা এই যমুনা সুরমা নদী তাটে আমার রাখাল মন গান গেয়ে যায় আমার রাখাল মন গান গেয়ে যায় এ আমার দেশ এ আমার প্রেম আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে কত আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে এই মধুমতি ধান সিঁড়ি নদীর তীরে নিজেকে হারিয়ে যেন পাই ফিরে ফিরে এই মধুমতি ধান সিঁড়ি নদীর তীরে নিজেকে হারিয়ে যেন পাই ফিরে ফিরে এক নীল ঢেউ কবিতার প্রচ্ছদ পটে আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে কত আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে এই পদ্মা এই মেঘনা এই হাজার নদীর অববাহিকা মিলন বিরহ সংকটে কত আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে এই পদ্মা এই মেঘনা এই যমুনা সুরমা নদী তটে আমার রাখাল মন গান গেয়ে যায় এ আমার দেশ এ আমার প্রেম আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে কত আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে কত আনন্দ বেদনায় মিলন বিরহ সংকটে
This song brings joy and also sorrow, and we are very sad to have lost Farida Praveen in 2025, but her legacy will live on. To continue with our cultural journey, and we would like to take you now to the segment where water speaks for water justice. And I would like to invite Aminur Rahman, who is a prominent Bangladeshi director, actor, the founder and chairperson of Palakar. And he is recognized for blending traditional folk elements with modern statecraft and for his excellence in direction. His work extends to social and environmental advocacy, using performing arts to promote climate awareness, water heritage, and cultural preservation through national and international collaborations. And actually, Aminur had been with us in this journey. He created a play around water justice a couple of years ago. And today he is going to make another presentation as part of our 11th International Water Conference. So over to you, Mukul.
Thank you, Appa. Thank you so much. Greetings and a very good day to everyone. On behalf of theatre organization Palakar, I extend a warm welcome and heartfelt greetings to all of you on this global and virtual platform of International Water Conference. We express our gratitude to ActionAid Bangladesh for including us in such a necessary conference. As you know, Palakar has always endeavored to reflect the stories of life and the people through the mirror of art and culture. In today's online session, we seek to celebrate water not merely as a natural resource, but as the very essence of our existence, our culture, and a language of our protest. On the occasion of this conference, we are presenting 4 special segments for you. First, we will witness the dreams of our future, the form of water through the eyes of children, in a digital exhibition titled The Language of Water in Colors and Lines. Iconic depiction of water painted by children will be showcased, reminding us that it is our duty to protect this sacred resource. Next, we will take you to the bank of the Karnapuli River in mountains. We have rearranged a traditional song of Chakma community from Chittagong. This performance is truly unique as a feature an improvised Jal Torongo, where the melody of water and the soul of indigenous life will blend into one. Our rivers are in crisis today. Therefore, in our third segment, we will present a virtual documentary on the ancient heritage and cultural state of 3 vital river of Bangladesh, the Halda, Shitalakha, and Someshwari. This video tells the story of their glorious past and their sad condition today. It will make us think about our responsibility towards these rivers. Finally, we bring to you our special presentation, the play Rupkathar Jion Nodi, the life-giving river of fairy tales. The actors in this play are not professional artists, rather they are the one closest to our hearts, a group of vibrant children from Action Aid Bangladesh Happy Home. Through a fairy tale, they will show a brave struggle to save our rivers. Through the power of art, we believe the cry for water will end one day. Our rivers will find their life again. I invite you all to join Palakar on this creative journey. Thank you, everyone. Victory to water, victory to life.
sang mui to so mare more ne jana horno fuli duli duli pudu se behona se dung sang mui to so mare more ne jana Sere thei nei mui kisu no degong no degi no suni mu kisu no sinong muro sere thei nei mui kisu no degong no degi no suni mu kisu no sinong bare je nei se bar sang mui duniya lo gore hajor gorong oboin more ne jana somare
Halda, the golden cradle of life. While rivers are mere lines on a map, Halda is a living legend. Curving through Chottogram's hills, it beats as nature's secret womb where life's rhythm begins. When monsoon clouds roar, a mystical alchemy stirs the depths. Amid surging currents and dark oxbow bends, mother fish release millions of silver dreams. Here, fishers harvest not just fish, but the seeds of tomorrow. A unique gene bank and dolphin sanctuary, Halda remains an immortal symphony of life, a heritage we must cherish forever. Shitalokha, the cooling legacy of muslin. Once, the world marveled at Shitalokha's crystal waters, so pure. They were shipped to England as healing elixirs. Yet, her true magic lay in the delicate folds of muslin. The river's unique humidity birthed the finest fabric, from Mughal luxuries to today's Jamtani. But today, this cradle of heritage chokes under industrial waste. Once a shimmering mirror of aristocracy, she now struggles for breath. To save Shitalakha is to revive our cultural soul and restore the cooling touch of a lost glory. Someshwari, a watercolor of clouds and golden scales. Where Meghalaya's blue peaks meet wild springs, Someshwari flows like a living watercolor. Her crystal waters once cradled a legend, the Mahashol fish with golden scales as large as saucers. This royal queen of the deep thrived amidst white sand and silent stones. But today, coal, dust, and iron dredgers cloud her sapphire mirror. The majestic Mahashol now nears extinction. Saving Someshwari is about more than water. It is a quest to revive our primal beauty and restore nature's lost sanctuary.
আমার পিঠে গল্পের ঝোলা। আজ আমি তোমাদের নদীর গল্প বলবো, জলের গল্প বলবো। এই যে আমার সামনে খা খা রোদে পুড়ে যাওয়া ধুধু বালুচর। এক সময় এখানে এক চঞ্চল রূপালী নদী ছিল। সেই নদী ঢেউ তুলে গান গাইতো, নাম তার জীবন নদী। কিন্তু নদীটা মারা গেল, মানুষ নদীটাকে ভুলে গেল। নদীও তো বাঁচতে চায়। ঠাকুমা, 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 তুমি না বলেছিলে আমাদের গল্প শোনাবে? ঠাকুমা, তুমি না বলেছিলে আমাদের গল্প শোনাবে? তাই তো, তুমি কোথায়? দেখেছিস, এই নদীতে পানি নেই, শুধু বালু আর পাথর। ঠাকুমা, তুমি না বলেছিলে এই নদীতে তাকালে নাকি মুখ দেখা যেত? ইস, নদীটা যদি থাকতো কতই না ভালো হতো। নদীটাকে যদি একবার দেখতে পারতাম, শুধু একবার, সত্যি শুধু একবার। হারাবে না সারা। তোমরা যদি জীবন নদীর আসল রূপ জানতে চাও, তবে দরজার এপারে এসো, এসো। কিরে, কি করবি, যাবি? ঢুকিয়ে দিল, চল ভিতরে যাই। কি রে হাদা?
স্বাগত, জলরাজ্যে তোমাদের স্বাগত। আমি তোমাদের সেই জীবন নদী। তোমাদের ইচ্ছে আজ পূরণ হবে, এসো।
যদি ডাক দিয়ে আমাদের কতই না ভালো হতো।
এসো আমার এই মায়াবী ময়ূরপঙ্খী নৌকায়। আজ আমি তোমাদের দেখাবো এই নদী কিভাবে মানুষের জীবন আর আনন্দকে হাজার বছর ধরে আগলে রেখেছে। এসো।
এই চল যাই, চল চল।
তুমি বললে যে তুমি জীবন নদী, তুমি তো রাজকন্যা, আমাদের মানুষের মতো করে কথা বলছো।
নদী কি কেবল বয়ে যাওয়া জলরাশি আরিয়ান? নদীরও প্রাণ আছে, নদীও গান গায়, নেচে নেচে বয়ে চলে। আরে নদীই তো পৃথিবীর প্রথম রাজকন্যা।
দেখ দেখ, বাইচের নৌকা।
নদীর তীরে মেলা বসেছে, কত মানুষ, কত আনন্দ।
শুনো বন্ধুরা, এই যে নৌকাবাইল দেখছো, এটি কেবল জেতা হারার খেলা নয়, এটা সবার মিলেমিশে থাকার আনন্দ। অনেক আগে যখন রাস্তাঘাট ছিল না, তখন এই নদীই ছিল আমাদের পথ। এই নদী মানুষকে এক গ্রাম থেকে অন্য গ্রামে নিয়ে যেত। নদী মানুষকে ভালোবাসার বাঁধনে বেঁধে রাখতো।
দেখ দেখ সবাই, ওরা নদীতে ফুল ভাসাচ্ছে, একজন আরেকজনের গায়ে পানি ছিটে আনন্দ করছে।
এই শুনছো, তোমরা এখানে কি করছো? আমরা নদীকে, জলকে ভালোবাসা জানাচ্ছি। নদীকে কি করে ভালোবাসতে হয়, নদীকে কি করে যত্ন করতে হয়, এই উৎসবে আমরা সেটাই
কি বুঝলে? নদী তো আমাদের সব আনন্দের উৎস। নদী যেমন দুহাত ভরে মাছ দেয়, জল দেয়, মানুষও কৃতজ্ঞতায় নদীকে ফুল দিয়ে সাজায়। নদী ভালো থাকলেই তো আমরাও ভালো থাকবো। নদী না থাকলে মাঝিরা আর গান গাইতো না, ফসলের মাঠও শুকিয়ে যেত। নদীই তো আমাদের প্রাণ। নদী আছে বলেই তো আমরা মেলা করি, গান করি। নদী বেঁচে থাকলে আমাদের এই হাজার বছরের আনন্দগুলোও বেঁচে থাকবে।
রাজকন্যা, তুমি আমাদের সাথে চলো না। তুমি গেলে আমাদের গ্রামের সবাই অনেক খুশি হবে। আমাদের মৃত নদীতে আবার জোয়ার আসবে।
আমি ওই বটগাছের জাদুর দরজার ওপারে যেতে পারি না।
কেন রাজকন্যা?
মানুষ এখন নদীকে আর ভালোবাসে না ঈশান, তারা নদীকে ভুলে গেছে।
তুমি আমাদের সাথে যাবে, তুমি গেলে আমাদের নদীটা আবার প্রাণ ফিরে পাবে।
না নিধি, সেটা আর সম্ভব না।
কেন রাজকন্যা?
ওদিকে যাও, উত্তর পেয়ে যাবে।
রাজকন্যা, জিয়ন নদী,
রাজকন্যা, জীবন নদী, রাজকন্যা,
তোমরা কি আমাকে খুঁজছো? আমি তোমাদের জীবন নদী, আমি তোমাদের রাজকন্যা।
তুমি জীবন নদী, কিন্তু তুমি এমন পাল্টে গেলে কেন?
মানুষ যখন নদীকে অবহেলা করে তখন আমি আমার রূপ হারিয়ে ফেলি। মাঝিরা আর গান গায় না। জীবন নদী আজ কেবলই একটি শুকনো বালুচর। তোমাদের জীবন নদী, তোমাদের রাজকন্যা আজ কদাকার চেহারা নিয়ে মৃত্যুর দিকে এগিয়ে যাচ্ছে।
রাজকন্যা জীবন নদী,
মানুষ ভেবেছিল নদী না থাকলে বড় বড় রাস্তা হবে, দালান উঠবে, কিন্তু তারা তো জানতো না নদী না থাকলে রূপকথার গল্পগুলো বুড়ো হয়ে যাবে, কুৎসিত হয়ে যাবে।
আমরা তোমাকে আগের রূপে ফিরিয়ে আনবোই রাজকন্যা। আমরা তোমাকে হারিয়ে যেতে দিব না।
চেষ্টা করে দেখো, মনে রেখো, নদী যদি কুলকুল বয় মানুষের মুখে হাসি রয়। মাঠে হাসে সোনালি ধান, মাঝির গলায় জাগে গান, মাঝির গলায় জাগে গান, মাঝির গলায় জাগে গান।
রাজকন্যা,
জীবন নদী,
রাজকন্যা, জিয়ন নদী,
আমরা সেই পথটা আবার ফিরে এলাম।
আমরা কি স্বপ্ন দেখছিলাম? আমরা কি ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছিলাম? ঠাকুমা, না ঈশান, ওটা স্বপ্ন ছিল না, ওটা ছিল জীবন নদীর কষ্টের কথা। নদী তোমাদের মনে করিয়ে দিয়েছে যে নদী যদি হারিয়ে যায় তোমাদের সব গল্প, গান আর আনন্দ এই বালুচরে হারিয়ে যাবে।
না, আমরা হারিয়ে যেতে দিব না।
ঠাকুমা,
পৃথিবীর
সবাই মিলে যদি নতুন করে সাজায় তাহলে কি ফিরিয়ে আনতে পারবো না? মানুষের অসাধ্য কিছুই নেই। মানুষ যেমন ধ্বংস করতে পারে, মানুষ তেমনি ভাবে নতুন করে নতুন পৃথিবী গড়ে তুলতে পারে। হাতে হাত রেখে শপথ নাও, অবশ্যই রাজকন্যাকে ফিরে পাবে।
আমরা রাজকন্যাকে ফিরিয়ে আনবোই।
আমার গল্পটি পুরলো, নটে গাছটি মুরলো।
And thanks, we would like to convey our thanks to all the performers. I hope everybody has enjoyed this segment. Another world is possible, as the children, as the youth have said, and we also believe if we act together, another world is possible. Let me now Bangladesh, all the way to Morocco. And we would like to share the first Oasis Eco Museum of Morocco. We have Vladimiro Bozelli, Edo Brichetti, and Irene Leonardelli talking and sharing the Eco Museum of Morocco.
Good morning. My name is Irene Leonardelli and I work for the Global Network of Water Museums, VAMONET. I'm here today to briefly present the work that VAMONET is carrying on in the oasis of Duriet Spa in Morocco to support the creation of a local eco-museum to valorize and enhance the local water heritage and knowledge. But what is an eco-museum? Eco-museums are participatory processes aimed at the recognition, care and management of local cultural heritage with the goal of fostering sustainable social, cultural, environmental and economic development. Eco-museums aimed at being creative and inclusive pathways for the cultural growth of local communities and are founded on the active participation of residents with the collaboration of local institutions and associations. How can eco-museums enhance local water heritage, including traditional water knowledge and sustainable water management practices? I'm going to briefly reflect on these points by presenting the specific case of Duriet Spa, Morocco, and its oasis, a community with whom VAMONET has recently started collaborating. In Morocco's dry Figic region, the village of Duriet Spa and its oasis stand as a living example of how traditional knowledge can sustain both people and at the earth of the village lies the Ain Spa spring, which has supported the community for centuries. Every night, the spring fills the main reservoir, feeding a finely tuned irrigation system. The villagers use a handcrafted notched wooden trunk, calibrated with nails and strings, you can see it in the picture, to measure and control irrigation turns with extraordinary precision. To adapt to seasonal changes, the community adjusts the timing of the full irrigation cycle so that every parcel of land receives water fairly. Of course, they adapt these irrigation turns also in relation to climate change. Maintenance work, such as clearing debris or repairing canals, is shared through a draw system, ensuring that everyone contributes equally. The Ain Spa spring is protected by strict ecological and spiritual rules that have safeguarded it for generations. 4 elders act as custodians of the spring. They make sure everyone follows the rules. This careful governance system is supported by ancient technologies like the so-called ketaras, which are underground water tunnels, and the so-called mizabes, which are traditional rain gutters. This is a remarkable example of how traditional knowledge supports sustainability and helps communities adapt to climate change. The Local Development Association of Duriet Spa plays a key role in keeping this heritage alive. They record oral histories and train young people about the local water management practices. For all these reasons, VAMONET is collaborating with local partners to officially recognize Duriet Spa as an eco-museum, to valorize its knowledge and make it visible to visitors and researchers. Fieldwork and local consultations are already underway. Vladimiro Bozelli, who is a researcher and a collaborator of VAMONET, has traveled a few times to the region and is coordinating the creation of the eco-museum with local partners. And the local community, coordinated by the Local Development Association, has already engaged in democratic participatory water mapping processes to gather a lot of material and documents about the local tangible and intangible water heritage. The next step is a formal decision on the eco-museum structure, and to support this process, some Bamonet staff, including myself, Heriberto Ulisse, who is the executive director, and Vladimiro Boselli, are soon traveling to Durietsba. In this regard, like all eco-museums, this is still an evolving, living project, and the Global Network of Water Museums will share more details about the project and the process of building this eco-museum in the next months. We hope that this project, this process, can inspire other communities facing climate and social change to open to create their own eco-museums and value their water heritage. Thank you so much for your attention. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you to Irene, Vladimiro, and Edo for sharing the Oasis Eco Museum of Morocco. We would now like to take you and bring you back to Bangladesh and let us do a virtual water museum visit in Kuakata, Pakiwara.
Water is the catalyst to our economy, our livelihoods, our agriculture. Bangladesh is blessed with hundreds of rivers, many of which are transboundary. But pure water is becoming scarce due to continuous pollution and encroachments. In 2019, the High Court of Bangladesh, in a historical judgment, recognized all of the country's rivers as living entities with legal protections. Unfortunately, however, rivers and other water resources continue to be neglected and abused. To highlight concern about people's rights to river and transboundary river issues, ActionAid Bangladesh introduced Asia's first ever water museum or Pani Jadughar, which opened in 2014 in Patuakhali, a coastal district of Bangladesh.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আমার নাম জালাল আবদিন। আমি এই পানি জাদুঘরের সচিব পদে আছি। জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের ফলে আপনার সাগরের পানির উচ্চতা বৃদ্ধির ফলে এবং বৃদ্ধির ফলে আমাদের এই যে ভূমিক্ষয়, জলোচ্ছ্বাস, বন্যা, জলবদ্ধতা এইসব চিন্তা ভাবনা করেই ActionAid বাংলাদেশ 2014 সালে এই পানি জাদুঘরটি তৈরি করছে। তো আসলে আমরা এখানে একটা নৌকা রাখছি, জাদুঘরের প্রথম ফটক। এই নৌকাটা দিয়ে আমরা বুঝাচ্ছি যে বাদ দিলে নদী ভরাট হয়ে যায়, নদী, নৌকা, লঞ্চ, স্টিমার চলতে পারে না। তো আমরা সেইটাই বুঝাচ্ছি এই নৌকা দিয়া। আমরা প্রথমত আমাদের এখানে আন্তর্দেশীয় 57টা আন্তর্দেশীয় দেশের পানি আছে। আসলে অনেকে জানে না যে এই নদীগুলোর নাম কি এবং কোন কোন উপজেলা জেলা দিয়ে এগুলো প্রবেশ করছে, আসলে অনেকেই জানে না। তো আসলে দর্শনার্থী যখন আসে তখন এইটাই নিয়ে তাদের একটা গুরুত্ব, যে এই নদীগুলোর নাম তারা একাতে পাইতেছে এবং এই কোন কোন জেলা, সীমান্ত জেলা যে ঢুকছে তাও তারা পাইতেছে। আমাদের এখানে আন্তর্দেশীয় যে নদীর কথা বলছি, সেই আন্তর্দেশীয় 57টা আন্তর্দেশীয় নদীর পানি এখানে আছে। তাছাড়া আমরা 80 থেকে 85টা নদীর পানি এখানে রাখা আছে। আমাদের লোকাল পানিও কিছু আছে আন্তর্দেশীয় ছাড়াও। তো আসলে এগুলি আমরা বুঝাচ্ছি যে পানির কোনো রং হয় না, কিন্তু যখন আমরা কাছের বয়মে তুলছি তখন দেখা গেছে যে এক একটা পানির পলিমাটি এক এক রকমের, যার জন্য এক একটা নদীর বৈশিষ্ট্য এক এক রকমের। এছাড়াও আমরা এখানে একটা মানচিত্র রেখেছি, কলাপাড়া থেকে আমরা সাগর পর্যন্ত একটা মানচিত্র রেখেছি আমাদের এই এলাকার, যে আজকে নদী ভরাট হয়ে যাওয়ায় আমাদের জেলেদের মাছ নাই, তাই জেলেদের কিছু উপকরণ এখানে আছে যেগুলো মনে করেন আবার এগুলো পানির সাথে সম্পৃক্ত। এখন আর কেউ খারই নিয়ে মাছ ধরে না, এখন আর কেউ সাবি দিয়ে মাছ ধরে না। তাছাড়া এই যে এই পাশে আছে আমার কিছু মাটিয়া জিনিস, এগুলো এখন আর আমাদের মাঝে চলতেছে না। এই যে আমাদের এখানে দেখছেন রিভার্স অফ বাংলাদেশ, আমরা পানির একটা মানচিত্র, নদীর একটা মানচিত্র এখানে রাখা আছে। তো আমাদের এখানে আরও আছে একটু কাঁসার কিছু পাত্র আছে, যেগুলো আসলে আগে সবাই হিন্দু মুসলিম সবাই ব্যবহার করতো, কেউ এখন আর ব্যবহার করতেছে না, এইগুলো হারিয়ে গেছে। এইরকম যেগুলো হারিয়ে গেছে আমরা চেষ্টা করছি এই জাদুঘরে সেগুলো রাখার জন্য।
সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা। আমি লিপি মিত্র। আমি পানি জাদুঘরে 2016 থেকে কিউরেটর পদে দায়িত্ব পালন করি। সোম থেকে শনিবার পর্যন্ত জাদুঘরটি খোলা থাকে 9টা থেকে 5টা। এই পাশে আছে মানে জেলেদের কিছু উপকরণ আছে, তারপরে আছে কিছু ছবি, যেমন নদী থাকাকালীন অবস্থাতে মানুষের জীবন কিভাবে চলতো এবং নদীপথে যোগাযোগ ব্যবস্থা কেমন ছিল। তারপরে যে হালদা নদীর ছবিটা, মানে কিভাবে নদীটা দূষণ করতেছে, এগুলো মানে আমরা বোঝানোর চেষ্টা করি। তারপরে আছে যে ওয়াটার ফুটপ্রিন্ট, যে 1 কাপ চায়ের জন্য একদম কারখানা থেকে শুরু করে খাবার উপযোগী করা পর্যন্ত 40.95 লিটার পানি ব্যয় হয়। তবে যদি নদী না থাকে তাহলে আমাদের নিত্য প্রয়োজনীয় জিনিসগুলো আমরা কিভাবে পাবো। নদী আমাদের জীবনের যে বড় একটা অংশ, এই ছবিগুলোর মাধ্যমেই আমরা ফুটিয়ে তুলি। আমরা আছি পানি জাদুঘরে, আপনারা আসুন, দেখুন।
What
And visit the first community museum in Asia, and inspired by this museum, I know there are a lot of museums and living museums have come up. Now, in Bangladesh also, we are trying to create another chapter of the Living Museum, and we have decided collectively to open a water museum in Chokoria. To talk about our idea, our dream, and how we want to proceed, I would now like to invite Jalal Anis, who's an architect. He has been working in Australia for the last 25 years. He's also currently involved in school projects in Ghana. Recently began working in Bangladesh, focusing on water management and governance with the aim of contributing to local communities. And Chokoria, where we are hoping to open this museum, is an area where it belongs to the family of Jalal Anis, and we are very pleased that we are going into this partnership. So, Jalal, over to you.
Thank you, Appa.
And
Can you
thank
hear
you.
me?
Welcome again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. If you could, somebody could help me with the slides, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share something very close to our hearts, a project that has been in years in the making, and one that we believe can transform how Bangladesh understands, protects, and lives with water. I am architect Jalal Anis, as Appa said. I am from Canberra in Australia, and I am here on behalf of the Jamila Malik Welfare Trust, one of the 3 founding partners of this initiative, along with Action in Bangladesh and Build Bangladesh. Together, we have embarked on a journey to create something bold, necessary, and deeply rooted in the identity of our nation. Today, for the first time, publicly, we are introducing Panir Pathshala, the water school. Next slide. Bangladesh is shaped by water, as Afsana said before. Its beauty, its abundance, and its challenges. We stand at the front line of the climate crisis, yet we also held generations of wisdom in water management. Next. Panir Pathshala responds to this reality, a living water museum, a place of learning, discovery, and resilience, a place where science, culture, and community meet. This slide is showing the context of the site and its proximity to other major landmarks in the area. Most prominently, the upcoming the deep sea port in Matarbari, and the other like the Bay of Bengal and the Kutubdia Island. Next slide. Our 10-year master plan brings together a set of interconnected facilities that promote learning and innovation. Some of the main components are an interactive water museum, a water innovation hub, a fish pathology laboratory, an aquaculture and blue economy institute, training institute, and so on. This is not one single building, rather a living campus. Next. Our ideas came from renowned water museums in places like the Netherlands, China, Japan, Morocco, and our own water museum in Kuakata. Yet our approach is distinctly Bangladeshi, deeply connected to Chakoria and the Matamuri River. Next. Our master plan would reflect the great river system of Bangladesh, the Ganges, Jamuna, Meghna, Padda, and honors the history and ecology of the Matamuri River. Next. The design philosophy centers on sustainability and harmony with nature, and more importantly, promoting respect for water. We envision a place like the Yearning Circle, inspired by Aboriginal communities in Bangladesh, in Australia, and a water tower representing reflection, resilience, and our connection to water. Next. Panir Pathshala is more than a museum. It is a platform for change. Social impact it will provide a platform for education, inclusion, and empowerment of women, youth, and the local community. In terms of economic impact, we believe it will be promoting creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship while generating revenue through job creation, tourism, research, and so on. And in terms of environmental impact, our goal is to promote conservation, biodiversity, and climate resilience, and more. Next. A bit more about the economic model. We expect to generate revenue through training and education, research and diagnostics, ecotourism, and glamping, retail and cafe operations, corporate retreats, partnerships, and sponsorships. Next. This is a true collaboration between ActionAid Bangladesh and in terms of community integration and fundraising, Build Bangladesh providing technical design and business planning, and Jamila Malik Welfare Trust through land stewardship and local engagement. Together, we will form a joint special purpose vehicle to govern and operate the museum. Next. We have been collaborating behind the scene to lay the groundwork. And now in 2026, the focus is on gathering momentum through partnership, strategic planning, and increasing visibility. Next. By introducing this initiative to you all, we are seeking collaboration through public-private partnerships, CSR programs, research and innovation grants, philanthropy, and impact investment, and so on. Next. Pani Pashala seeks to establish Bangladesh as a prominent center for water education and climate innovation on the global stage. We invite technical partners, researchers, investors, philanthropists, and institutions to collaborate with us in realizing this vision. Here is the next slide. We're just providing you the contact detail of one of our team members. Should you wish to get in touch with us, please send us email. We'll get back to you. Next slide. Thank you. Finally, I would like to forward you. We'll look forward to your questions and exploring how we can work together to make Pani Pathshala a reality. Pani Pathshala, the water school, is a new living water museum being created in Chakoria through a partnership between ActionAid Bangladesh, Build Bangladesh, and Jamila Malik Welfare Trust. Our goal is simple. To build a world-class center where communities, researchers, and young people learn about water, climate resilience, and sustainable living through hands-on exhibits, innovation lab, and training programs. Bangladesh is shaped by water. It challenges us, but it also connects us. The project turns that reality into strength. A place where knowledge becomes resilience and resilience becomes opportunity. Because if water defines our future, then learning how we shape it, and Pani Parshal is where the future begins. So let's work together, and thank you all for listening to me.
And it's so great to see what we were discussing and dreaming, and we weren't sure it would come to this stage, but it has. Thank you so much for the presentation, and we are all very excited. So if you want to be a part of the Pani Patshala, the future of Water Museum, please join us and do get in touch with your questions. And we can think going forward, we would like many, many more partners. I now would like to invite Supreet Sen, who is an art and outreach coordinator, Kolkata, of the chapter lead Living Museum. Supreet, you joined us from Sundarbans yesterday. Are you still there? Traveling back? Unmute yourself, please. So Supreet is, as I said, he's an outreach coordinator, but he's also a trained vocalist, a tabla player with over 25 years of experience. So don't get deceived by his look. He looks like he's just out of school, but he's trying to claim he's got 25 years of experience. And in 2025, he completed an artist residency at the IHE Delft, and he is exploring museum as a medium for tradition ecological knowledge. He also serves as the Asia Pacific Vice President of the International Scientific Committee of Water Heritage. So Supreet, thank you for joining us and share with us.
It is an absolute pleasure.
Your experience and knowledge and a little bit of your creativity.
Hello. সবাইকে নমস্কার, আমার নাম সুকৃত. As Farapa mentioned, I look after the Calcutta chapter of the Living Waters Museum, and as a youth member myself, I feel that we have a lot of responsibility as a museum curator. এবং আমি এতক্ষণ ধরে যা দেখছিলাম, আমরা একটা ছোট নাটক দেখলাম বাচ্চাদেরকে নিয়ে, তারপরে we did a virtual tour of a few museums. আমাদের মিউজিয়ামটা is actually a website. What I will do is I will share on the chat box the link to our museum, and তার সাথে you can also check out the different urban water chapters that we are focused on. কারণ কি, when we talk about responsibilities, and as a museum, we have felt that there is a need to really tell people that the water exists. যেহেতু বাচ্চাদের সঙ্গে কাজ করতে আমার খুব ভালো লাগে, and since I particularly work with the youth and I really enjoy working with them, one of the things I've noticed, particularly as a difference between urban children and rural children, is that the urban children don't even know about the waters. The first chapter they learn about is that their water is getting polluted, and hence they have to be protected. And that is where I feel that we miss a chapter, because the children haven't been told that what is this water body in the first case, and what is the functionality of this water body in the first place. Why is it important as a part of that ecological growth? And that is where I feel that museums play a very important role in telling people that this water exists and what is the good part. Another thing that I have learned with working from kids is the idea of hope. Because whenever we ask a child to draw a water body or the idea of climate change, most people will draw an earth with one side which is green and the other side which is polluted. But I often feel that we don't end up telling these kids that there is a lot of hope. The idea of hope that whatever it is, it's, yes, we have done a lot of mistakes, but yet it is not over. I think hope is what we live for, and as museums, it is our duty to give out the beauty of our surrounding waters. ওটার জন্য আমরা কয়েকদিন ধরে কয়েকটা কাজ করছি লিভিং ওয়াটার্স মিউজিয়ামের সাথে। একটা হচ্ছে দিস আরবান ওয়াটার চ্যাপ্টার্স, we are looking at different cities, যেমন কলকাতা, পুনে, বম্বে, গোয়া, এবং ওই শহরের মধ্যে আশেপাশে কি কি ওয়াটার বডিজ আছে। আমাদের কলকাতার যে এক্সিবিশনটা আমরা করেছিলাম, ওটার নাম ছিল জল জ্যান্ত কলকাতা। আমরা একটু ওই ওয়ার্ড গুলো নিয়ে একটু খেলেছিলাম, এবং ওর মধ্যে কলকাতার নদী, কলকাতার নালা, কলকাতার ড্রেনেজ সিস্টেম, বৃষ্টি, ফাউন্টেন্স, এমন কিছু নেই যেটার মধ্যে জল আছে এবং সেটা মেনশন হয়নি। তো সেই সূত্রে ওটাকে এক্সটেন্ড করতে, কারণ আমরা যখন দেখি মিউজিয়ামস, we only cater to a certain audience every year এবং একটা সেম অডিয়েন্স বছরের পর বছর মিউজিয়ামসে আসছে, কিন্তু how do we cater to an audience which is beyond the museum going audience? That is where we started the concept of performances. এবং আমরা through music, which is my domain, we tried to look at how do we curate performances যাতে ওই পারফরমেন্সেস এর সঙ্গে আমরা মিউজিক, স্টোরি টেলিং, পোয়েট্রি এইসবের থ্রু দিয়ে জলের ব্যাপারেই বলি। তো যে লোক আসছে সে হয়তো আসছে পার্টিকুলারলি এন্টারটেইন হতে, কিন্তু when he is going away, he is going back home with information. এবং এর বছর কয়েক বছর আগে যখন সিলেট গেছিলাম অ্যাকশন এডের এই কনফারেন্সেই এই নিয়ে অনেক আলোচনা হয়েছে। এবং কালকের করেছিলাম to talk about how there is a deep sense of hope in a lot of traditional music that our countries actually possess. আর আমি কলকাতার বাংলাদেশ এর মধ্যে তো শুধু একটা একটা কাঁটাতারের তফাৎ আছে, বাকি আমাদের কালচার সবই সেম। কিন্তু আজকে যেহেতু আমি ফারাবাকের রিকোয়েস্ট অব্দি যাবোই না, আমি নিজেই একটা গান করতে চাই। সেটা হচ্ছে অন কালকে আমি লালন করেছিলাম, আজকে আই উইল টক অ্যাবাউট another mystic whose name is কবির। এবং জল এমন একটা জিনিস about which a lot of people and most people have written in very interesting manner. এবং one of the ideas that we also look at in museums is also the idea of gender. এবং there is a song by Kabir which is called Bhala Hua Mori Matki Phuti. It is such a deep song. It is in Urdu, কিন্তু the song আমি গানটাকে explain করে দেবো, and the song goes like अरे भला हुआ मोरी मटकी फूटी, अरे भला हुआ मोरी मटकी फूटी, मैं पनिया भरन से छूटी रे, मोरे सर से टली बला मोरे सर से टली बला। এখানে প্রোটাগনিস্ট হচ্ছে is a woman in the western side of India who is carrying water and carrying it in long distances to take it to their family. এবং she's telling that the problem is not in the water, the problem is in the utensil where we hold the water, because the water is for everyone. But the moment we put it in a utensil, we start the idea of caste and who is this water accessible to. Hence, the woman is saying, "Bhala hua mori matki phuti." চলতে চলতে ওনার ওপরে ওনার ঘাড়া পড়ে গেছে এবং উনি বলছেন যে I am so glad that this pot of water has fallen. Today I don't have to be the criminal where I say no to certain people when they ask for water. এবং I feel this is so deep in so many ways. এবং পরের প্যারাগ্রাফটা হচ্ছে ওই ভলা হুয়া মরি মটকি ফুটি मैं पनिया भरन से छूटी रे मोरे सर से टली बला। अरे पानी पानी अम, अरे पानी को नाम को पानी जाने, अरे पानी को नाम को पानी जाने ये नादानी है। अरे पानी पानी रटते रटते प्यासा ही मर जाए, मोरे सर से टली बला मोरे सर से टली बला। अगेन कबीर सेइंग कि जो पानी को नाम को पानी जाने वो नादानी है। अरे पानी पानी रटते रटते प्यासा ही मर जाए। বলছে যে ওয়াটার ইজ সাচ এ ডিপ থিং, যে জলকে বলছে যে ইজ একটা খুব সিম্পল একটা ব্যাপার, আদৌ ওটা সিম্পল নয়। কারণ একটা লোক শুধু জল জল করতে করতে তেষ্টায় মরে যেতে পারে। এবং দ্যাট ইজ হাউ ডিপ দিস ওয়াটার ইজ, অ্যাজ ইট গিভস লাইফ ইট অলসো টেকস অ্যাওয়ে লাইফ। এবং এখানেই আজকে আমি এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা করে যে হাউ ওয়েন উই আর ড্রিঙ্কিং আওয়ার ওয়াটার, the next time we are sitting with our glass of water, there are so many people who don't have even access to that drinking water. সেই কোয়েশ্চেনটা দিয়েই আমি আজ ছাড়লাম। এবং লেটস হোপ দ্যাট অল দ্য মিউজিয়ামস দ্যাট উই আর আ পার্ট অফ, we just heard Irene, who's from the Global Network of Water Museums. How can we actually make this information accessible and really improvise on the value of water that we have in our surrounding environment? With that, I will end my talk. Thank you so much for having me.
Agreed, that was so beautiful. And as Kabir says, that we compartmentalize, we create all the artificial boundaries around water. Has always been for everyone, and that's why we named or titled this session as Water Speaks for Water Justice. And with your song, I think we can close this with that feeling that water, if asked, and if water could speak, it would not differentiate, it would not discriminate, it would be for all of us, and it also is asking to flow without any borders and boundaries. So, huge thank you for being with us. And I take the opportunity to thank all the speakers and panelists, Mukul and Supreet and Anis. And we have to keep dreaming and we have to keep hoping, and therefore then only will the change happen. Another world is possible. With that, I want to now invite the moderator of the next session, Dr. Hasib Mohammad Irfanullah. And Hasib is serving as an independent consultant on environment, climate change, and research systems. He is a visiting research fellow at ULab. He's also a former ICN program coordinator. He did his PhD from the University of Liverpool. He's a global advocate for nature-based solutions. Hasib has been a co-traveler with us for climate justice for a long time, and he has been part of Water Museum at different moments in time. So over to you, Hasib. And the next session is all yours to moderate and to enlighten us.
Thank you, Appa. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everybody. I hope you are enjoying and celebrating as well the discussion, the rich discussion we have been having since yesterday morning. As you can see from the program, that this is the thematic session 3. Here we will be talking about climate crisis and innovation, and of course for water justice, which is the theme for this 11th conference. We have a full packed 1 hour, so time management is a key. I'm sure that our presenters and discussants will be helping me to do that. First, we will be hearing from the keynote speaker, then it will be followed by 3 specific presentations from 3 people. And finally, we end with 2 discussants. We will be hearing from them. Without further ado, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, Dr. Mansival Bhargava. She is the National President, Water Resources Council of the Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And her topic is, of course, our conference theme, Reimagining Water Governance for Just and Sustainable Futures. The floor is yours, Dr. Bhargava. You have 15 minutes. I will be, when 2 minutes left, I will be alerting you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Haji Bhai, and Pranam, Adab, Namaste, good evening, warm greetings from Netherlands. I hope I am audible to all of you before I start my presentation. Yeah, and may I request the host to share the PowerPoint, or I can also share whatever works for us. Okay, thank you. And first of all, thanks ActionAid, Farah Appa and Imtiaz sir, Tanziat for inviting me and thinking of me to be part of this wonderful event. This is my 3rd year to be in the event, and also inviting me as a keynote speaker. I'm really privileged to have this honor in this esteemed company. And I would like to really take a dig into what exactly we mean by reimagining. Next slide, please. My landing slide. What exactly we mean by reimagine per se. So I am also putting up a warm greeting because I will speak my heart like water would like to speak. Be like water or flow like water. And what it is to really talk about when we talk about transboundary, transdisciplinary transparency. Next slide, please. So here, I really want to question all of you. What do you mean by reimagine, and why we need to reimagine? why water governance is at the center of when we talk about water matters or water crisis, because climate crisis is water crisis. When we talk why we need to talk about a just society, because when we look at climate crisis, we talk water crisis, but we also talk about equity crisis, and why sustainability still remains our goal, knowing that none of the countries are going to achieve sustainability by 2030. And I want to present an optimistic case of wardency to all of you, where I am right now working on a project. Next slide, please. So these are something which we all are aware. I am not cooking anything, and I am not also going to mince words. As I said, warm greetings. We are in a state of triple planetary crisis: the climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And actually, you can see the ripple effect of it in more planetary crisis. But for me, one of the humorous way to put, or a lighter way to put it, is in the rising temperature of planet is also increasing the rising political unrest, because policies and politics shape the way water governance is going to happen. And I'm going to reflect upon how India and its allied countries are dealing with water governance and giving optimistic example of wardency there. So for me, actually, more than climate crisis, we are in a state of moral crisis at this moment in the world, between the countries, between neighborhoods, between cities. We see everybody is after everybody. There's war. The capitalistic movement is at its peak. We know people are meeting at Davos for the World Economic Forum. The rising inequality is at its peak. At this moment, water is one of the biggest currency which is getting now negotiated between the top brass or the corporates. It's a new currency, for that matter. Oil is no more a new currency. We are talking about availability, we are talking about quality, distribution, and when we talk about transboundary, we are talking about diplomacy also. So there is this compounded crisis, which is probably put in a simple way as triple planetary crisis, but I have personally find that the crises are actually more than 20 crises within that triple. And where are these interconnected? Where are the impacts going on? And I find, because of the moral crisis, the major impacted areas are public health, innovation crisis, education crisis, the shrinking funds for research and development, the shrinking fund for women and children well-being. We are seeing across when the whole world is at unrest. We are seeing in our transboundary relationship between each other. Next slide, please. Next year, we go with the Ganges Treaty with Bangladesh. We already have issues with Mahakal Treaty with Nepal. We are already having issues with Indus Treaty we saw this year in 2025. So what exactly should we reimagine, giving this backdrop we are already sitting on? And I think it is a ticking time bomb, as it was also presented by the United Nations Secretary General, that we are really sitting at the verge of civilizational collapse, climate collapse, ecological collapse, and compounded social collapse. So what exactly we need to reimagine? I'm putting very simple 3 words picked from the conference theme itself. We need to reimagine governance itself. The very monolithic way of governmentalization which is going around the world in the water sector needs to deregulate itself to, not next slide, yes, it needs, please stay in the same slide, needs to deregulate to governance, find a real meaning of governance, not by the government but everyone, having innovative, integrative, and interactive solutions. When we talk about just, it is not coming through market for sure. So I am proposing to reimagine a just society through justice, through judiciary, through funding, through policy. Unless that happens, market cannot bring us to, or economy cannot bring us to a just society. That's my proposal to reimagine the future. Then talking about sustainability becomes a very vague thing right now, and I'm talking about reimagining it from sensitizing and sensibility of educating ourselves about what is sustainability, and agitating what is not sustainable, not agitating in the sense not compromising with unsustainable practices in the water sector, and organizing ourselves as water enthusiasts, water practitioners, to collaborate in a completely different level what is happening. And I'm going to now present an example from an optimistic example. How can we do that? Next slide, please. And I'm presenting to you a wardency example, which is real-time project. Right now, I'm working on that project. And wardens, I'm going to give all the 3 pointers and give example how wardency project is trying to manage it. It's wardency is basically between 3 countries, Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark. As you can see from the global map, we go to the next slide, please, and I share some of the important aspects of wardency before I get into the attributes of wardency from governance, justice, and sustainability. It is one of the hot biodiversity hotspots in the world, known for its tidal area, the barrier islands, the offshore areas, and of course receiving the river ecosystem into the sea. It's a buffer sea between the before the North Sea, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site with spreading between the 3 countries, having 17 Ramsar wetland sites. It is also a transboundary wetland between the Dutch, Danish, and the German Wardency. And you can see the huge area of conservation where protection and management has to be discussed, and it cannot be done without having a transboundary arrangement. And that's what I'm looking for from the Indian context and its allies. Next slide, please. So let's get into straight away into the governance, how wardency is governed and what we can learn in the South Asia, especially I'm talking from the Indian allies in the governance perspective. When we have a situation like Indus or Ganges Treaty or Mahakali Treaty, it's already a multi-nation, multi-party, multilingual, multicultural, multi-social, and having all the global challenges. Wardency itself has its global challenge. When we talk about wardency, and I want to share with you when the trilateral agreement between the 3 countries started in 1978, climate change was not embedded into the treaty, and now we are talking about amendment of the treaty and new for policy formulation in the wardency region between the 3 countries. So it's a very clear understanding that there is a problem, local problem, global problem, regional problem between the countries. How can politics and scientific initiatives work towards collectively to bring a new way of thinking of governing wardency for its protection and management? So here is a case study where all the 3 countries are sitting together and talking about how to work together for the betterment and protection and management of the wardency. Yes, I can't really do much about the background noise because I had made arrangement right on the time, but now I'm sitting in a cafe. But please pardon me for that. I hope I am still audible, right? I'm
Yeah,
audible,
that's
right?
fine.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
no problem.
Yeah. Maybe next slide, please. We go to the justice.
Mansi,
Yes.
Mansi, there's
Yes.
so much noise behind you. It is so difficult to hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can you unmute, can
Yes.
you please block the sound and can you speak because everyone's struggling to hear.
Oh, but I had actually requested the married people to reduce the volume and they refused to do so. So I
Oh.
had to leave the room. I had already allocated the time slot, but I could not use that time slot for the meeting. But I will still continue and finish in my time given, and I hope it makes sense to all of you. I can share the recording later on as well. So when we talk about the wardency justice, and there's a major component which comes out when we see that 3 countries are coming together to work on it. It's the transparency or accountability of the countries towards the wetland. And accountability is extremely important when we talk about water diplomacy between the countries. And the accountability actually expands to the ecological justice towards the wardency, the social cultural practices along the wardency, and the scientific engagement between the countries. And this is where my project comes into picture. There is a clear database, clear platform, dashboards where we are talking about harmonized international and national policies for the wardency. So what I'm trying to share with you is the optimistic way how we can go further for a just and sustainable future, taking our shared responsibility and share towards the shared resource. There is integrated monitoring system, there is assessment procedures between the countries. So there are local regulations, national regulations between with each country, but then there is also a mechanism where each country is actually communicating and taking a feedback loop from other countries' activities and how it is going to impact the wardency. Next slide, please. In all this, one of the fundamental thing which is part of the trilateral agreement between the countries is the sustainability, and taking into account how sustainability embeds many aspects, not only participation of the stakeholder, but how it is interactive between the participation, how the participation goes beyond different stakeholders, and how what level of interaction. Excuse me, excuse me. Sorry, I think now there will be more noise. Excuse me, can you just give me 5 more minutes? Yeah, it's my speech is on. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you so much for this. Yeah. Sorry. As you can see, I'm in a public place. Sorry for this. I will try to conclude in less than 5 minutes now. So the way the sustainability has been projected in the whole project is how integrated approach can be taken not only for economics but also for economy, also for the ethics of the project. And I think this is where I when I look at the way SARC used to SARC used to operate in the past, I would really like to reimagine SARC taking climate change as a leading component, because one thing is very clear, that climate crisis and water crisis allows us a collaboration, forces us to come together and work towards resilience building. And I'm seeing all this being talked about, being practiced in wardency. And if I'm dreaming, then why can't I reimagine for it for India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, India, Nepal? That's what I'm learning from wardency right now. Can we go to the next slide, please? And that's my last but one slide. Yes. So here is a project which we are working on right now, and I'm just giving again example: transboundary project, transdisciplinary project between 28 universities and organizations, between 150 scientists and scholars and practitioners. These are name of the projects. You can look through them for in the website. But important part is I'm working on the Watt Couple project. Yes.
You have 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I am also left with only one more slide. So I am working on the Watt Couple project, which is basically trying to coordinate the social components of the other projects to see how sustainability is going to be achieved, how governance is going to be worked on for different ecological components of the wardency, how are we trying to be inclusive and participatory in our project. So that's my role and our project role in the project. Why this is important to learn from wardency is that we have these wonderful treaties which have sustained for so long, but I miss this kind of engagement between the countries, where transdisciplinary, where there is transparency, where there is where there is transboundary arrangement, where we all can work together. We are doing it in our little way, but wardency project is led by the politics and the policy within the trilateral agreement. And I feel Indus Water Treaty, Ganges Treaty, Mahakal Treaty should initiate that kind of scientific and political movement. May I go to the last slide, please? So where do we go from here? As I have been parroting about India, and I'm very hopeful if SARC can be reimagined and remade to a new roadmap, we can see water as a cooperating tool. Because as I said, climate crisis is water crisis. And that cooperation has to be led by the politics and policy through the agreement or through the treaty. And definitely we need to change the way narratives happen. It has to go beyond the economics, and the narrative of cooperation has to be about peace and ecology. How to establish peace, how to work for ecology together, how to work for climate change together, how to bring transboundary as our way to work together, which will naturally bring actually transparency, because every country will be accountable to other countries also. And this is where our role as scientists come very, very crucial. And I see science has to talk about collective governance. If governments are not working together, we have to really make the government work together, because science can only provide the right-based, the nature-based, the innovation-based solutions. Government has to, or politics has to really work with the science without politicizing the science or scientizing the politics. So I would like all of you to pledge together. Let us educate the cause, which is for us, for me, transboundary is the future. And we have to share resources and share knowledge, agitate the concern. Let's stand against something which is unsustainable practice across the borders and organize each other for future collaboration. I'm open for it and looking forward to do some collaborations with all of you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm really sorry and apologize for the sound or noise behind me. I could not help
Okay, fine.
because of
No,
the
no,
time management. Thank
no
you so
worries.
much.
No worries. Thank you, Didi, for fantastic presentation. Those of you who joined a bit late, she was actually helping us to reimagine water governance. And first, she theorized the concept, and then with a specific example from Warden Sea, she tried to give us a direction and as a roadmap as well to end the presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let us move on to the, thank you. To the first presentation, we will be here. The first presentation we will be hearing Irad Kausar. He's the executive director of Build Bangladesh, and he will be talking about Prakriti of Pani, POP Water Tower, and innovation for water justice. The floor is yours, Irad Bhai. Thank you. You have 10 minutes. I will alert you when 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a fantastic water conference that I have been observing for the today and also yesterday. I would request the host to please pull my presentation slides, please. Thank you very much. I will be talking about a venture of ours that we have been working around for the last 4 years. It's called Prakriti o Pani in Bengali, and in English it means nature and water. In short, we call it POP Water Towers. It's an innovation in the water sector, which we think has a mandate and also a possibility to change the way we look into harnessing water as a resource. Next, please. If we look into different type of water technologies which has been at large in the global south or in the South Asia region, we will see the technologies like tube well, pump, and other machines which are extracting water, the technologies which helps to extract water. But what we are looking into is focusing on water production than extraction, adapting a technology which produces water rather than it extracts waters from a source, which is like the our underground water sources, the surface water sources. Rather than we look into the atmosphere and adapt atmosphere technologies to produce water. That is where POP Water Tower comes in. Next slide, please. It is made of locally available materials, but on the layer of it, we are using advanced technologies to give it a more sturdy and sustainable, long-term sustainability. It is mostly made of an octagon-shaped bamboo-based infrastructure. That bamboo is processed. So right now it is giving 7 to 8 years of guarantee as infrastructure, but now we are working on the phase 2 of it, where after ferrocement processing, this bamboo infrastructure will give a stability guarantee of 20 to 22 years. So the infrastructure is mostly made out of bamboo, and there is a mesh net inside, which is the main infrastructure. And there are and this mesh net actually harvests water, moisture, and fog from the air, and also it receives the rainwater. So, and at the bottom of it, there is a 5,000 to 50,000 liter tanks. This tank size can be replaced as per the capacity of each towers. So, generally, we are placing a 5,000 liter tank, which holds the water in that region. And to maintain the entire tower, we use ropes and to put the entire thing together. And this tower generally produces 10,000 liters of water every week. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So just to give you a context, what you are seeing on the screen is an imitation of the hill tracts region of Bangladesh. There you can see that these are a hilly region where the houses are in one hill, and probably you will see the mm, water source is quite far from where they live. Generally, it is a 1.5 to 2.5 hours of walk to the water source and back home. So that's quite a long hike, and the water source is mostly contaminated because that source is used for washing, that source is used for toilet purposes, and that source is also used for cooking and also drinking water. So number one thing in the region is the water sources are limited. It is also getting contaminated because of the multiple usage of from a single source. And at the same time, just to collect that water as well, the people has to travel almost 1.5 to 2.5 hours. And that that's something which we are changing with our pop water towers. Next slide, please. By setting up these towers at the vicinity of those villages, now the village people can access these towers and also the water source in 2 to 5 minutes of distance from their home. And across for the last 3 years, we have established 14 towers across the region and have been trialing what type of quality of water does it produce. And we have tested the water, we have certified the water, and people has been using it there. And in this region of the hill tracts where water sources are contaminated, we have found that beside natural death, the top three reasons for death in that region is typhoid, diarrhea, and dysentery. There are 4 villages right now who are using our water towers. In those villages, for the last 1 year, there were only one person who was affected by typhoid. It's too early to say hooray and Yahoo, but that's a good start. What we are seeing that these water towers are being able to provide clean drinking water, which is not only solving their water source problems, but at the same time, it is also directly affecting their health well-being. And the most concerning topic in that region about water is their water table is going down 1 feet every year. So using traditional pumps or diesel pumps are becoming more costly day by day there. Next slide, please. Uh, we are not only producing safe drinking water, but these water towers right now, we are going down the commercial road where this year we are trialing this technology to do irrigation, because the water that produces a tower produces 10,000 liters of water every week. So now what we are trying to do, we have set it up in the hilltops, and from there, through the drip irrigation system, now we are being able to offer irrigation, low-cost irrigation to the hilly farmlands, where irrigation is a big challenge, and there are hectares and hectares of land which is uncultivated and unutilized. So those are the areas where these towers are being set up, and these water is used through drip irrigation to produce agricultural products. For this year, we are trialing with 2 crops. One is a commercial crop, which is cotton, and another one is a very popular vegetable in Bangladesh, which is papaya. Next slide, please. So far, we have seen the water that is being produced. It has been certified by ICDDRB as 99% safe drinking water. And
you have 2 minutes left.
Thank you. And each water tower tower has a reservoir facilities, and the water that we are producing through this tower is zero energy conversion. I mean, to produce this water, we know energy is being utilized, and each tower for 36 weeks, it offsets 0.68 tons of carbons. And World Economic Forum has covered us as one of the most impactful uh, green technologies of the Global South. Next slide, please. So that's what we are doing through the water towers, and it's right now in the hill track regions, but this year we have installed our first water tower in plain lands in Patuakhali, which is with ActionAid's Living Museum in Kolapara, Patuakhali. So that's also a good start for us, which we would like to see how these water towers behave in the plain land, because for these water towers to operate, as we are saying that it is harnessing the atmospheric technology, for these water towers to operate, we need the humidity of the weather to be 70% plus. And also it requires a little bit of altitude to function. So this is a technology which we have found at low cost. It is carbon negative, and at the same time, it can be installed anywhere in the hard to reach areas. So we are trying to drive a positive impact, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys. And I'm here around for any other questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this fantastic sharing with us, this fantastic innovation. And of course, innovation, it needs, continuous feedback from where it is implemented. And we can see that how from drinking you have shifted to commercialization so that agriculture can be benefited as well. And you are also, opening up the horizon, not only southeastern part of Bangladesh, but also southern part of Bangladesh. And we all wish you good luck. Thank you very much. So we now have heard from our first presenter. Now moving on to the second presentation, which will be given by Afia Adiba Hafsa. And she's already here, and she will be talking about Blue Crew, gamified youth framework for community-driven water cleanup and sustainable engagement. So Hafsa, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. May I request the host to share the slides, please? So I want to begin with with a tension that many of us in this room already recognize. Across Bangladesh and in many other contexts, community members, especially young people, are actively cleaning rivers, documenting pollution, and researching local water issues. Yet, when policy decisions are made, most excuse me, please. Yet when policy decisions are made, most of that participation is effectively invisible, not because it lacks value, but because it lacks recognition as evidence. So my name is Afia Adiba Hafsa. I work at the intersection of youth participation, research, and water justice. Today, I want to share a pilot level system that explores one central question. What if participation itself could become credible, usable evidence for water justice? In the next minutes, I'll do three things. First, I'll frame the problem as a water justice gap. Second, I'll walk through a digital participatory system designed to respond to that gap. And finally, I'll outline the realistic impact and the limits of this approach. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, thank you. No, next one. Next slide. Yeah. So here is the core problem in one line. Community action exists, but it is structurally unrecognized. Young people clean canals, students test waters, neighbors document pollution. This work is meaningfully locally, but it rarely becomes evidence that policy actors can use. Why? Because these contributors are fragmented, unevaluated, and not collected in ways that invite institutional trust. Ask yourself who is counted when policy are formed, whose findings get cited. If we cannot answer that clearly, the people most affected remain unheard. The gap between effort and recognition is where Blue Crew begins. Next slide, please. Blue Crew is a simple in design and deliberate in purpose. It creates 3 equal pathways for contribution. Let me walk you through them. One is cleaning. Okay, next one. Okay, cleaning. Anyone can submit a photo of even the smallest piece of litter they collect. 1 bottle, 1 bag. Submissions are verified and converted into data. Contributors earn points, daily streaks are tracked, and a transparent leaderboard sustains engagement. The point is not gamification for attention, it is the creation of reliable time-stamped micro-events that accumulate into credible evidence, advocacy, and research. Not everyone can participate physically, so users can contribute through short research notes, local observations, or issue-based analysis. These posts can also earn points and are open to structured community feedback. We treat these entries as contributions to local knowledge, not social media content. Crews are small collaborative groups. They organize cleanups, conduct joint research, share findings, and issue challenges. Crews are categorized urban, coastal, student-led, NGO-linked, so their outputs remain contextually meaningful. Why this triad matters is simple. It makes participation both inclusive and cumulative. Action, knowledge, and collective effort become separate yet combinable evidence streams. Next slide, please. Now the technical logic, intentionally minimal. At the top is the participation layer, cleaning, advocacy, and crews. Below that, the verification layer, image validation with GPS and timestamps. This is low cost but essential for trust. The goal is not surveillance, it is traceability. Next is the data engine. Hotspot mapping, trend analysis, and contribution categorization. This layer is lightweight by design, so NGOs and local institutions can replicate it without heavy infrastructure. Finally, recognition and outcomes contributions are aggregated by type. Cleaning, research, and advocacy are recognized on separate merit tracks. Critically, recognition is not just points on a leaderboard. For research contributions, the system includes community evaluation, peer feedback, and a lightweight review signal that surfaces high-quality work. Those flagged as high-quality enter a support pathway, mentoring, pilot testing, or institutional introductions. This is how a grassroots finding can move from post to pilot. This architecture does not replace institution monitoring. It creates a complementary evidence stream, one that can be acknowledged and acted upon. Next slide, please. So what does this change practically? Social impact, increased youth inclusion, and local leadership, because recognition shifts power. Environmental impact, continuous localized cleanup activity and hotspot identification. Governance impact, a bottom-up evidence stream that can inform advocacy and local decision-making. Now the limits, and I'll be direct. This is a pilot concept. It cannot correct industrial pollution governance on its own. It cannot replace regulated monitoring systems, and it will not magically create policy change, but it can do something essential and realistic. It makes community contributions legible to the structures that allocate attention, funding, and action. When evidence is legible, it can be cited, aggregated, and used strategically. Scaling is horizontal. By relying on low-cost verification and modular data outputs, the model can be replicated across communities without heavy central investment. Strategic partners, NGOs, local governance, universities are necessary to translate credible signals into policy dialogue. As an example, my friend and I have been researching graphene fabrication related to water filtration. We had data, experiments, and ideas, but no focused space to continuous informed feedback. Posting on general social media was noisy and
Hi,
isolated.
Afia.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes left. 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll finish in a moment. So what we needed was a dedicated, moderated space to test whether our work was credible and valuable. So next slide, please. To summarize, Blue Crew is not a solution to water injustice. It is a response to a specific failure within it. It addresses the reality that community action, youth research, and local knowledge already exist, but remain structurally unrecognized and therefore unusable at the levels where decisions are made. This system does not replace institutions. It asks institutions to see what already exists. The real question is not whether this model is perfect. The question is whether we are willing to continue designing water justice framework that overlook the participation that already happening on the ground. Thank you. I welcome your critique.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Afia, for fantastic sharing with us a fantastic innovation, how participation can be, what do you call it, redefined, and being realistic, rather than over ambitious. I like that approach, how to combine realism and innovation together. Thank you. Thank you for very much, and wish you all the best with your work. Now let us move on to our third presentation, where we will be hearing from Mir Munesa Ifti. He will be talking about a very interesting concept, which is ballast water, and how can we manage the ballast water, especially if we really want our marine water sustainability. Mir, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes. Thank you. You need to unmute yourself. Are you there? Ifti, are you there?
It was on.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Sorry for.
Yeah, we can't see you. Now we can see and hear you. Please.
Okay.
Yeah,
Imagine a
thank you.
large ship arriving at a busy port after an ocean journey. It unloads its cargo smoothly, and there is no black smoke, no oil spill, and no noise. Everything looks normal. But something invisible has already entered the sea. Tiny organism, bacteria, larvae, and some small marine species being pumped into the harbor. They are harmless in their home, but here they are alien. This silent movement of the life is called ballast water. And why it is matter for Bay of Bengal. Next slide, please. Well, before begun, let me introduce myself. I am Ifti. I am a day cadet and currently pursuing BSc in Nautical Science in Marine Fisheries Academy. Today, I want to discuss a challenge that is often invisible in naked eye, but has a great impact in our blue planet. Next slide, please. We all know that shipping is the backbone of our global economy. According to the international data, more than 80% of trade moves by sea. Without ship, the world stops. Every benefit comes with a responsibility. Ballast water is necessary for ship safety and stability. But if it is unmanaged, it is environmental bomb. In this presentation, I will cover how ballast water work, the illogical risks it creates, the international law governing it, and especially the challenge we faces in Bangladesh. Next slide, please. To understand this problem, we all have a question in our mind: what is ballast water is? To understand this problem, we must understand the ship. When a ship has no cargo, it is too light and unstable. To fix this, it pumps seawater in its ballast tank to make it stable. And this is called ballast water. Next slide, please. This water is not just about H2O, it is a soup of living organisms. When a ship reaches the destination, it takes off cargo and it pumps water back to out. Some of them die and some survive, but some that survive can be serious problem. They enter a new ecosystem where they have no natural predator. This isn't just an engineering issue, it is a biological invention. Next slide, please. So, is this a really big deal? Yes, let me explain why. First, look at the picture, zebra mussel in Great Lake. These tiny shells travel in ballast water from Europe to North America. They multiplied so fast that they blocked the underwater pipe and destroyed the local fishes. It cost industry billions of the dollar to fix. Now look at the second picture. This is very scary. It is cholera. In 1990s, a ballast water brought a deadly cholera strain to South America. This caused massive breakdown and affected thousands of people. So it is not just about fish, it is about human health. Next slide, please. The world did not ignore this threat. In 2004, the International Maritime Organization IMO adopted the Ballast Water Management Convention. It is officially become a law in 2017. Today, this is not a suggestion, it is a legal requirement. Every international ship must have a plan to manage a ballast water. This shows that the world recognizes that a drop of water in one port can destroy the ecosystem in another. Next slide. So how do you actually stop this tiny invader? The law uses two main standards. One is D1 exchange. Ship replaces their coastal water with the water from the open ocean. Most of the coastal organisms cannot survive in the deep sea and vice versa. D2 treatment. This is a gold standard. Ship use onboard system like UV light or chemical to kill the organism before the water released. While D2 is more effective, but it is also expensive. This challenge is for industry to balance the environmental protection and with the high cost of technology. Next slide, please. Why does it matter so much? Because if the invasive species take over, there is no undo button. Invasive species can kill our native fishes, destroy the food chain, and cause millions of dollars in economic damage to fisheries. In marine science, we say prevention is the cure. Once the alien species in water, it is almost impossible to remove it. Next slide. Well, now let's look at my home, Bangladesh. We are located at the head of Bay of Bengal. This region is a large marine ecosystem. It supports millions of people through the fishing and coastal trade. Our water have very high biodiversity, which is unfortunately make them more vulnerable. A small imbalance can destroy our ecosystem and ecology. Next slide. As a maritime student in Bangladesh, I must be honest about the challenge. While the international rule exists, following them isn't very easy for the developing nation. We faces limited capacity of port inspection, a lack of advanced laboratory facilities to test water, and need better coordination between the maritime and environmental department. By following this, we can try to fix this problem. Next slide. This issue isn't just about ship, it is about our future. This aligns directly with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14, Life Below Water. By managing ballast water, we aren't just following the maritime rule, we are protecting our biodiversity and ensuring that the ocean remain healthy for our next generation of seafarer and citizen. Next slide, please. Well, to wrap up, ballast water is silent, proven ecological risks. We have the law, the IMO convention, but the implementation must be stronger. For Bangladesh, we need three things: strong enforcement at port, investment inspection technology, and better training for officer and cadet to handle this system. This is a practical, necessary step to protect our blue economy. Next slide. Ballast water moves silently. You cannot see the damage until it is too late. So, I leave you with a final question. Will we act now while the ecosystem are still healthy? Or will we wait until the damage is permanent? The choice belongs to all of us. The next slide. Thank you everyone for your time and attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Ifti, for this very interesting, enlightening talk. We often don't think about it, especially when we can't see it. Thank you very much for drawing our attention towards that. Okay, folks, we have now heard from our keynote speaker. We have heard three presentations from our three presenters, one on harvesting water from atmosphere, one is participatory water pollution management, and the final one you have just heard, the ballast water management. Now, on these three or on these four talks, we will be now requesting or inviting our discussants. We have two discussants among us. They will be each speaking for 5 minutes maximum. First, I would like to invite Fayaz Bakir. He is the director, Akhtar Hamid Khan Resource Center, Pakistan. Yes. Sir,
thank you so much. Thank you
yours.
for inviting me to these very innovative presentations. Right now, I'm not based in Pakistan, and I'm no more the chair of Akhtar Hamid Khan Memorial Trust. I'm based in Ottawa, but it's a pleasure to participate in this session. I was recently reading a book which said that if you want to learn new ideas, read old books. So as Nancy talked about reimagination, and then the question of advocacy and expansion of these initiatives came up, I had to go back to Dr. Akhtar Hamid Khan because he was my teacher and mentor. And I learned a lot from him on these issues of participation and advocacy. So he looked at the problem as having connection with three stakeholders: people, professionals, and politicians, or resource providers. And he said that the role of professional was to go and ask the people about the problem, about their priorities, instead of deciding it themselves. And the important thing was that he said that people are aware of their problems, and also they have some idea of the solution also. But they have two kinds of solution. One is their dreams, and the second is what is possible within their means. So the job of professional is first to identify their priority, and then to understand what is possible within their means. That way it can be taken to scale. And the third thing, which relates to advocacy, which would relate to these presentations also, was that when you work, right in the beginning, people, professionals, and politicians need. And that happens when he used the concept of component sharing, that community takes the responsibility for what happens at community level. But right in the beginning, they have a dialogue with the government that beyond the neighborhood, or beyond the home, street, and community, the job will be taken over by the government, because it will reduce government's burden also if the work at community level is taken by community, and it will generate their interest also. And Parveen Rahman, my friend Parveen Rahman, who used to work with Akhtar Hamid Khan also, she gave the idea that we should engage the youth to work as ninja turtles of mapping in their areas. So as I see these initiatives, the first one is the water tower. The first thing is he said that when you go to a community, don't tell them what they need, ask them what they need. And so let there be a process of self-selection. And if majority of the people don't accept your ideas, it means that there is anarchy. It doesn't mean rejection. So you pick those people who agree with your ideas and test your approach. And once you show results, there'll be a snowball effect. So in this also, I think, important thing is for all these three initiatives to decide how to engage communities, professionals, and resource providers at the same time, how to build the ownership of the community, engage them, and with their help to find out solutions that they're able to implement. Like the first one, all the first two presentations gave low-cost solutions which can be easily replicated, and communities can take them forward. The important thing is to continue the dialogue with other communities. The third one needs more professional involvement, but there are also community. It is important to decide what should be the role of the community and what should be the role of the politicians.
Sure.
So these are, I think, the most important thing, but these can be decided keeping in view and in consultation with the local stakeholders. That's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your sharing your reflection and joining us from early in the morning from Ottawa. Thank you very much for nice hearing from you.
Thank
Now
you.
let us take from our second discussion, Dr. Deepak Gayali, and he is joining us. He's a senior research fellow, Nepal Water Conservation Foundation, and he is an academician, of course, and he is also engaged as an academician with the Nepal Academy of Science and Technology. So the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can hear me?
Yes, sir, we
You
can
can
hear
hear
you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I've been listening these 2 days off and on, and I should actually thank Farah and Imtiaz Ahmed. I believe these are the movers and shakers of this conference who have together an extremely challenging, set of presentations. In this particular presentation, this particular session itself, I mean, we have 3 presentations, one on very local water harvesting with local issues, the other on how to mobilize youth, and the third one on a very, very global issue of pollutant transfer across the oceans. So we're really spanning from local to global and old people like me to youth to just about everything. It's an extremely challenging thing. I believe Imtiaz is going to be summarizing this at the end. Good luck, Imtiaz. Okay, but thanks for doing this. Very, very interesting putting together. Now, I'll try to summarize, in 2 basic questions, okay, of what has been presented, what I have heard in the 5 minutes that I have. One is on innovation. I mean, the first one presentation was amazing innovation on water harvesting. There are many other water harvesting innovations also, but this I had never seen before, and I'd definitely like to see what the impact is, as it goes through the years. But what is interesting to me with innovation, and this is something that I have a chapter in a book edited by Imtiaz Ahmed and Lian Zhang from China on innovation, where essentially I argue that one has to really go, if you want to talk about social and political realities that impact innovation, one has to go beyond technical innovation. Markets are very good at technical innovation, okay? Trouble is, if that is not parallelly balanced by behavioral innovation and managerial innovation. Now, governments should do the managerial innovation by changing rules, regulations, and all to make sure that technologies really survive. And social activists, civic leaders, etc., should be at the forefront of behavioral innovation parallelly. If this happens, then technical innovation flourishes. I can give you enough examples of very, very good, eco-friendly, economic friendly innovations that have gone nowhere. In Nepal, for instance, I give you two examples. One is cable car ropeways, which is far friendlier, mountain friendly, and climate friendly. It uses Nepali hydropower. Unlike roads, which use diesel trucks and have a tremendous impact in the hills, causing landslides and everything. The trouble is that ropeway technology came to Nepal 100 years ago, like 110 years ago, and has gone nowhere. So the question is, why is a fantastic technological innovation not able to find traction on the ground? And for that, you have to look at, disjunctures, you might say. Once you bring in cars and roads, you are locked into a kind of technology from where there is the cost of getting out of that technology is extremely high. So this is where the real problem of innovation and making sure innovation comes. And I'd like to see how the First Nations technologies really how they work out over the thing through behavioral and managerial innovations also. Now, another problem that I have, and this comes from Mansi's presentation initially, is that we have really been, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union and this unipolar world nonsense. Thankfully, we are seeing the end of that, hopefully, with Mr. Trump. But what is interesting is that water in this last 30 years after the collapse of the Second World has been treated mostly like a private good. People only talk, the World Banks of the world, the ADBs of the world only talk of water and privatization and everything else. Now, water is not only a private good. Yeah, some aspects of it are bottled water, tanker water for people who can pay for it. Yeah, but what about people who can't pay for that? Okay, so their water becomes both a public good, where governments, municipalities, etc., have to step in to make sure that there is justice. Even for people who cannot afford expensive bottled water, there should be clean drinking water available. Okay, that's where water becomes a public good, not just a private good. And more than that, water is also a common pool good. Now, what is a common pool good? Unlike a public good, which is managed by governments and municipalities for us present today, common pool goods are goods that where the voice of those who are not present should be protected. Who? One, future generation. They are not here voting, and the mute environment. Who speaks for them? And this is what makes water also common pool good. And who's the custodian or the social carrier of that common pool good? It is social activist movements. Unfortunately, I should say the high point of activism was actually in the 80s and 90s, with Imtiaz and everybody, Rizwana Hassan, my good friend from Bela, now minister or something in Bangladesh. There was no 21st century has seen a decline of activism. Okay, so this is where the problem. The second question that I would say when you talk about,
we need to finish for the next session. If you can wrap it up in 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, in 1 minute. What about cooperation on water? I advocate that there are 7 colors of water. Surface transboundary water, blue water in rivers is only 1 color. I mean, you have white water, which is meteorological water. You have groundwater, which is brown water. Magenta water, which is ocean water. Each one of them is affected very, very differently by climate change. Okay. Unfortunately, blue water or river water has hegemonized resource funding, attention, and everything. river water problem is not going anywhere. Mahakali Treaty is dead in the water the last 30 years. Ganga water is coming up, it's functioned, but it's coming up for this thing. Indus water, as was told to us, was the best thing that happened to mankind, and now is thrown out of the window. Okay, so problem with blue water is that it's a win-lose situation. What I get, you don't get. What you get, I don't get. Which is why I'm advocating that international cooperation should now keep that in abeyance and start concentrating on meteorology and white water, which affects us all, recognizes no boundary, and is the source of all blue water and brown water. Okay, so if we can do that and talk about storage of water in its multiple forms, not just dams, but also what our friend in the first presentation did, water harvesting, also through wetlands preservation, green water, soil moisture preservation. There's a whole
Sure.
range of things to do, and we haven't done that. So this is where I would stop. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. We have a very fantastic session, not because I'm moderating, but the presentations were really, really good. We three presenters, one keynote speaker, and two discussants, and it has been fantastic. I am not going to summarize anything because you have already heard that what we have discussed, and we have heard from the presenters, and they discussed excellently. They summarize and throw some different lights on those governance issues under the climate change scenario. Before we move on and I hand over to the host, I would like to thank the organizers for arranging this fantastic online conference without missing this year, despite many difficulties. And I wish that the next session and the remaining of the conference will be a smooth one, and you will enjoy and learn and celebrate. Now I hand over to Farah. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you, Hasib. I hope you'll continue to stay with us. We would have liked to hear a little bit from you on your nature-based solution going forward. Do you want to share one or two lines before I invite Dr. Imtiaz to for the next session? Because you have been doing some interesting work. And is there anything you would like to share from your work, Hasib?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Appa, for giving this opportunity. Now I'm wearing a different hat. I'm not a moderator anymore.
No.
Yeah, thank you. We often talk about nature. We want to see nature as a whole. Yes, we do that. And over the last 5-6 years, we have been hearing the term or concept or approach, whatever you call it, nature-based solutions, which essentially bring together not only human as a kind of extractor or user of nature, but also how we can harness both human well-being and biodiversity or ecosystem well-being together. And nature-based solution concept actually talk about managing the ecosystem that we have, both natural as well as modified one, because nowadays it is really hard to get natural or unmodified ecosystem. But when we talk about water, and definitely we need to talk about the sustainable management, but it is not only managing the wetland, which is a nature-based solution. When we reforest or create a new forest on the coast, we are actually talking about nature-based solution as well. Since we are talking about water governance in this particular session, and we are talking about justice, I would like to touch on how in the coastal area, we are talking about nature-based solutions a lot. It is not only planting trees and protecting the coastal communities. There are so many different ways we can harvest water. But when we harvest water by just capturing it in a plastic container, it is of course it is adaptation option, but it is not the nature-based solution. But however, when we re-excavate our canals, we re-excavate our ponds, we rejuvenate the connectivity between the water bodies. It is amazing to see how not only a human being, but the soil, the vegetation as well as the animal get benefit out of those interventions. That's why nature-based solutions are being talked about among the practitioners, among the conservationists, and as well as the policymakers. And in Bangladesh, I can give you a quick example that since we have just heard how climate crisis can be taken care of and see it through water governance or water justice point of view. In Bangladesh, our national adaptation plan, which has definitely embraced not only comprehensive disaster management in it, our adaptation plan, which is, by the way, 30-year long, it also considered the food security aspect of adaptation. It has also embedded in itself the nature-based solution. But the problem is, often when we talk about nature-based solution, we think that it is just planting trees. No, it is not like that. If you just go through our national adaptation plan, you will be seeing that the activities under water resource management, the activities under food security or climate resilient agricultural system, everywhere nature-based solution is embedded. So I was just wondering that sometimes the compartment that we create for our own good, to run our ministries, to run our departments, to run our disciplines academically, things are often transdisciplinary. As Mansibi was talking in one of his three, as a part of the sustainability. So I strongly believe that you will be exploring that aspect, that everything is connected, and how can we make that connection stronger so that co-benefit can be achieved. I think I have said a lot. I would like to hand over back to our ActionAid conference room. Thank you, Appa, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words on nature-based solutions.
Thank you, Hasib. Thank you, Hasib. I thought it would help, you will enlighten us, and it's important to hear each other. Over to you, Afsana.
Thank you, Appa. We now turn to our final thematic session of the 11th International Water Conference organized by ActionAid Bangladesh. Thematic session 4, which is titled as Transboundary Water Accountability and Regional Cooperation, addresses the governance, political, and institutional dimensions of shared rivers, highlighting the need for cooperation, transparency, and trust across borders. I'm honored to invite Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, Executive Director, Center for Alternatives, to moderate this session. Dr. Ahmed, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Now, yesterday and today, I think we have heard in different sessions, different viewpoints on issues related to water, rivers, ocean, of course, climate change also. But one of the things I think that has always impacted this region is the issue of transboundary water accountability and regional cooperation. Now, this particular session is critical at this moment because the regional cooperation looks to be in a very bad shape from all sides and for various reasons. So I believe we have altogether 3 presenters and 4 discussants. I hope they will be able to give sense and resolve so that we can move forward to the idea of regional cooperation. So we have 3 speakers to begin with. Each of them will get 10 minutes, and hopefully if you can keep to 8 or 9, that would also help us to have a discussion, a Q&A section at the end, which we are missing in most of the previous, we have missed in most of the previous sessions. So my first speaker, let me welcome him, Muhibul Hassan Arnob, field research assistant from BRAC's Institute of Governance and Development. Mohibul, 10 minutes for you. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I'm Mohibul, and I'm currently working as a field research assistant at BRAC Institute of Governance and Development. Today, I'll present my findings from my research on transboundary river management between Bangladesh and India, focusing on institutional fragmentation, political constraints, and practical pathways for conflict mitigation. I'll finish with some concrete ideas to sustain technical dialogue, even when diplomatic channels are disrupted. So let's begin. The next slide, please. So before diving into institutional dynamics, a quick reminder of why this matters on the ground. In August 2024, flash floods affected roughly 5 to 6 million people and displaced over 500,000. The response showed that when bureaucratic institutions align, Army, Navy, BGB, district administrations, and multiple ministries, logistics, rescue, and relief work well. That success reveals a central point. Institutional coordination can deliver results, but only when it is rapid, integrated, and politically supported. The contrast between effective coordination, as we saw in the case of the floods, and the routine river governance that exists is what I want to unpack today. The next slide, please. So the Ganges-Brahmaputra-Meghna basin is complex. There are 5 countries, dozens of shared rivers, and a very pronounced hydrological asymmetry. Bangladesh sits largely downstream, which creates dependence and vulnerability. Because so many rivers cross the border, bilateral issues are not isolated technical problems. They are political, multi-river, and often interlinked with development and agricultural needs in both countries. This is the setting in which the Joint Rivers Commission operates. The next slide, please. The Joint River Commission is an essential bilateral technical forum. It provides the institutional space for data exchange, flood forecasting, joint studies, and expert dialogue between Bangladesh and India. Without the JRC, even limited coordination on rivers would be extremely difficult. But at the same time, there are 3 interrelated structural gaps that shape how far the JRC's technical work can influence outcomes at the political level. First, data collection and sharing remain uneven across seasons and scales. Operational flood and monsoon data are exchanged and used effectively, particularly for forecasting and emergency response. However, dry season hydrological datasets are less systematic. As a result, sustaining year-round evidence-based negotiation becomes difficult for downstream actors such as Bangladesh. Second, the capacity constraints and institutional fragmentation affect continuity. JRC is designed primarily as a technical and advisory body. It does not possess executive authority, and its recommendations must pass through political and bureaucratic channels for adoption. Within Bangladesh, transboundary water governance involves multiple ministries and agencies, each with distinct mandates and incentives. When coordination across these actors is limited, technical recommendations can lose momentum and decision cycles slow, even when the analytical basis is sound. Thirdly, the negotiation processes have often been reactive and incremental rather than strategic. Over the years, extensive technical work and draft understanding have been developed for several shared rivers, including the Tista. Yet political dynamics upstream and shifting diplomatic priorities have repeatedly cycles, progress tends to lose momentum. Taken together, these observations suggest that its effectiveness is shaped less by technical competence and more by broader institutional and political environment in which it operates. The next slide, please. So a short theoretical framing helps make sense of these patterns. Regime theory tells us that durable cooperation does not emerge simply from goodwill or occasional technical exchanges. It requires shared rules, predictable procedures, and routine monitoring, and some form of compliance or review. When cooperation relies on ad hoc data sharing or irregular meetings, it remains fragile and easily disrupted by political change. Bureaucratic politics adds another layer. Policy outcomes rarely reflect a single unified national position. They are shaped by bargaining among ministries with different mandates, incentives, and risk calculations. In this setting, a technical body without decision-making authority, most joint river commissions can generate strong recommendations, yet still see them diluted, delayed, or sidelined as they move upward through political channels. The next slide, please. Political context is decisive here. Since July 2024, bilateral relations have been strained, which has heightened the political sensitivity of formal negotiation channels. When formal tracks stall, momentum for agreements get hampered. This is not unique to our region. Hydro diplomacy often hinges on political will. Technical readiness without political space rarely produces implementable agreements. Can we get to the next slide? So because state level channels can sometimes freeze, people-to-people mechanisms matter a lot. Trained youth cohorts, CSOs, and municipal networks and Track 1.5 engagements have continued monitoring, shared early warnings, and coordinated responses across borders. These channels cannot replace state negotiations, but they sustain practical cooperation and keep technical dialogue alive when official tracks are stalled. The next slide, please. So regional and civil society initiatives also help. TROSA and similar initiatives demonstrate how multi-stakeholder dialogue, youth empowerment, and shared early warning systems mechanisms can maintain day-to-day resilience, reduce tensions. These initiatives build social capital and local confidence in cooperation, which is useful when formal diplomacy resumes. The next slide, please. Another existing and relevant example is the South Asia Young Women in Water Initiative. It functions as a regional gender balanced network of trained young water professionals from riverine contexts across South Asia. The initiative is already embedded in Track 1.5 spaces connected to municipal and civil society platforms, allowing participants to operate between technical work, local governance, and informal diplomacy. Through structured training, vetting, and induction, members engage as credible contributors rather than just volunteers. What makes this initiative particularly valuable is the continuity. The next slide, please. The MAP Trinational Early Warning System in South America offers a useful model. Municipalities, indigenous communities, and civil society co-designed an early warning system that functions across borders. The lesson is clear. Participatory design, local ownership, and legal recognition can make cross-border early warning system robust, even in complex political contexts. The next slide. To conclude, the JRC remains essential. It's the institutional anchor for bilateral technical engagement, but institutional design, political will, and routine transparent data sharing determine whether technical knowledge becomes diplomatic leverage. My recommendation in brief would be to routinize the JRC technical outputs into an advisory track 1.5 council and institutionalize sustained data sharing protocols that include dry season monitoring, and to strengthen the people-to-people networks such as the youth, women, and municipal partnerships to keep channels of cooperation open when formal diplomacy is being constrained. Next slide. That would be all. Thank you. I look forward to the questions and a constructive discussion.
I now see that you are my former student, which I didn't realize. Okay,
Yes, sir.
good. In fact, before 10 minutes. No, thank you. Let's go for the next presentation. I think we can have Q&A provided, speakers will be like, the next speakers will be like Arnav. So we have the second speaker, Mr. Imran Hussain. He's studying in the Department of Geography at Jagannath University. Imran, 10 minutes for you. Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my study. Good evening, distinguished chair, participants, and members of the audience. My name is Imran Hussain from the Department of Geography and Environment, Jagannath University, Bangladesh. On behalf of my research team, I am honored to present our study titled Spatio-Temporal Assessment of Tista River Bank Changes Leveraging Rusley, SDR, and Morphometric Analysis with GIS and Remote Sensing. For an international audience, transboundary water justice refers to the fair sharing of water, risks, benefits, and decision-making among countries sharing a river. This study highlights how the transboundary management of the Tisa River directly affects. Previous slide, please. This study highlights how the transboundary management of the Tista River directly affects erosion, sediment flow, agriculture, and livelihoods in downstream Bangladesh, emphasizing the urgent need for transparent water accountability, shared data, and strengthen regional cooperation between India and Bangladesh for sustainable and equitable river basin governance. Next slide, please. Study area. The Tista River originates from the Pahonri Glacier in Sikkim, India, and flows 290 km in India and 124 km in Bangladesh. Before entering Bangladesh, the river is already highly regulated. In Bangladesh, it flows through Rangpur, Nilphamari, Lalmonirhat, Kurigram, and Gaibandha, supporting millions of livelihoods. It finally joins the Jumna River at Chilmari in Kurigram district, forming a highly dynamic confluence zone. The river is regulated by a barrage in India located approximately 60 to 40 kilometers upstream from the Bangladesh border. Next slide, please. Background of the study. The Tista floodplain covers around 14% of Bangladesh's total crop area and is a major irrigation source for 6 districts including Nilphamari, Rangpur, Dinajpur, Bogura, Gaibandha, and Joypurhat. Every year, about 1.5 million tons of borrow rice are lost, which is nearly 9% of national production. According to projection, crop production may decline by 8% by 2030 and 14% by 2050. Continuous erosion and channel shifting between 1991 and 2021 have already reduced large areas of fertile farmland. Overall, the basin directly or indirectly supports around 21 million people. Next slide, please. Around 13 million people are at risk in Tista Basin, and about 7.3% of national livelihoods depend on these river systems. Surveys show that 77% of households have lost their homes 3 or more times due to erosion and flooding. Between 1991 and 2021, approximately 194 square kilometers of farmland were eroded. Due to repeated displacement, many families have shifted from farming to daily wage labor, which significantly lower income stability and increase poverty and vulnerability. Next slide, please. Objectives. The first objective is to quantify annual soil loss and sediment yield using the Rusle and SDR models within a GIS framework to analyze morphometric characteristics in order to identify high-risk sub-watersheds. My second objective is to develop GIS-based erosion risk maps that link physical vulnerability with community exposure, considering upstream water regulation, governance gaps, and hydrological variability. The final objective is to propose justice-oriented and community-centered approaches for sustainable water management and regional water cooperation. Next slide, please. Rusle model. Rusle, or the revised universal soil loss equation, is one of the most widely used empirical models for estimating long-term average annual soil erosion caused by rainfall and surface runoff. It was originally developed from the Usle model by Wismeyer and Smith in the 1960s and later revised by Renner and colleagues in 1997 to improve its accuracy and global applicability. The equation is expressed as A equal R into K into LS into C into P. The model is used because it is simple, data efficient, compatible with GIS and remote sensing, and suitable for large river basins like the Tista. In the study, Rusle will be applied to estimate spatial and temporal patterns of soil erosions, identify erosion hotspots, and quantify the magnitude of land degradation. The expected outcome from this model is a set of high-resolution soil erosion maps and statistics showing which sub-watersheds are losing the most soil and where conservation measures should be prioritized. Next slide, please. The SDR model. The sediment delivery ratio model explains the relationship between total soil erosion within a watershed and the amount of soil sediment that it actually reaches the river channel or basin outlet. This model is used because not all eroded soil is transported to rivers. A large portion is deposited on slopes and floodplains. In this study, the SDR model will be used to estimate sediment yield at sub-watershed and basin levels, identify major sediment sources areas, and understand sediment transport pathways. What it analyzed: estimated fraction of eroded soil reaching the river, identified sediment sources, and sinks in the watershed. Next slide, please. Morphometric analysis is a quantitative approach to studying the geometric characteristics of drainage basins and river networks. It was pioneered by Horton in 1945. Key parameters include stream order, stream length, biofiltration ratio, drainage density, stream frequency, basin relief, slope elongation ratio, and ruggedness river numbers. This method is used because basin shape and drainage structure strongly control runoff generations. It allows researchers to understand why some sub-watersheds respond more aggressively to rainfall and flooding than others. The expected outcome is identify erosion-prone sub-watersheds, estimate runoff infiltration and sediment transport, support erosion risk zoning and management planning, embankments, vegetation buffers, soil conservation, etc. Next slide, please. To support this model, multi-source datasets will be used. Rainfall and climate data will be collected from the Bangladesh Meteorological Department and CHIPS satellite products. Soil properties will be obtained from SRDI and FAO databases. Topographic information will be derived from ESTER and SRTM digital elevation models. Land use and land covers data will come from Landsat, Sentinel-2 and Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics records. Hydrological and sediment data will be sourced from the Bangladesh Water Development Board, while field validation data will be gathered from ESPERSO local government office and direct field service. This integrated dataset is essential to ensure model reliability and spatial accuracy. Next slide, please. The proposed methodology integrates three complementary components: RUSLE for estimating soil erosion, SDR for calculating sediment delivery to the river, and morphometric analysis for understanding basin-controlled hydrological behavior. First, all datasets will be pre-processed and standardized in GIS environment. Second, RUSLE will be applied to generate spatial soil erosion layers. Third, SDR will be used to convert soil erosion into sediment yield. Finally, all outputs will be integrated to produce erosion risk and vulnerability maps for the Tista Basin. Next slide, please.
John, you have just 2 minutes left. You have 2 more minutes.
At the operation level, thematic layers for rainfall, slopes, land cover, and conservation practices will be created to compute RUSLE factors. These three outputs will be combined using GIS-based multi-criteria analysis to generate erosion susceptibility and priority zoning maps. The expected outcome of this integrated modeling framework is a scientifically robust decision support combine outputs from RUSLE, SDR, and morphometric analysis produce erosion risk and susceptibility maps for management planning. Next slide, please. Expected outcomes. The expected outcomes include spatial maps of soil erosion intensity in the Tista Basin 2010 to 2025, identification of high-risk erosion and sediment source areas, sub-watershed prioritization based on RUSLE, SDR, and morphometric results, clear understanding of riverbank change and sediment dynamics, GIS-based decision support maps for riverbank management, scientific support for sustainable and community-based interventions. Next slide, please. In conclusion, it is expected that the Tista Basin will show severe soil erosion and active riverbank instability. The application of this model is expected to identify erosion hotspots and sediment delivery patterns, while morphometric parameters are expected to explain the hydrological sensitivity of different sub-watersheds. Integrated GIS analysis is expected to support risk-based watershed planning and provide scientific guidance for sustainable river management, policy formulation, and transboundary water governance. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your kind attention and time. I sincerely appreciate the.
Yeah, thank you, Imran Hussain. Maybe if we have time, we'll come back to you for clarification. If someone wants to understand more about your presentation. Our next speaker is Dr. Jayanto Boshu. Jayanto, you are there?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Jayanto Boshu, he is now a faculty member of Calcutta University and an eco-journalist, a good friend of ActionAid, and so I will now speak with Jayanto. Jayanto, you also have 10 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ahmed. Thank you, Farapa. And I can see John after a long, long time. So good to see all of you. And when I kind of preparing my presentation, I was more keen on understanding what not to speak rather than what to speak. Considering all this, it's always great to be invited and be part of it. I've been part of it for a long, long time. So can the presentation, the presentation can be shared? Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to talk about within my limitation, the importance of data in facilitating appropriate discourse on transboundary rivers, and I'll be referring from the India and Bangladesh. And I really believe that transboundary rivers can actually become a currency of cooperation if we can look at. Next slide, please. Well, when we talk about data and evidence-driven transboundary discourse, it builds up trust. It can contribute a lot to the disaster mitigation in the both sides of the river. Fair water allocation, a real cause of concern for many countries, and environmental and water quality monitoring. Now, this has to be done considering the national data security. There is no two ways about it. National data security is very important, but ensuring that still we can build up those pointers and facilitate data sharing for a greater cause. Now, one point I would like to mention here, I can't take names, but I was talking to, as a journalist, talking to very experts across both India and Bangladesh. And when we were talking about data sharing, for example, when the Ganga Treaty was formed, we looked at 40 years of historical data. That's fine at that point of time. But now, when we are thinking about another Ganga Treaty at the end of next year, the point is, should we look at 40 years? For that matter, not only Ganga, across the world, the way the world is changing, the demography is changing, the climate is changing, there is now strong cause for looking at 20, 25 years data rather than 40, 50 years data. So that's something which has come out in various discourses and discussion. I thought about putting it on table for the wider discussion. Next slide, please. Now, data is also a strategic enabler for the transboundary river management. You look at UN Water Course Convention, you look at other factors, data is something which always can push evidence and I would say clarity and some kind of a sanity in the whole discourse. And here I would like to put my neck out and say that media data set also need to be considered. Apart from the official government data from whatever country, the media data set or the data set generated from media is very important. I give you an example. Recently in India, the Center for Science and Environment under the leadership of Sunita Narayan has come up with the Indian Disaster Report. And that report says that last year, 2025, 99% days, India had at least one disaster at some part of the country. And that data has been pulled, both the official data as well as the media data. So I think when we are talking about data, not only the official data, but also the media data need to be considered. Next slide. Now, successful data collaboration, it's not that it's not happening. It's happening. If you look at Professor Ahmed is here, he knows much more than this. Chu and Talas River in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, the Danube River basin in multiple European countries. And I'll come to Mekong, and John is also here, Mekong River basin. You look at the very successful data sharing. And if you look at the whole dynamics and discourses of transboundary river cooperation, these are the good examples. And I was looking at the geopolitics part of it. Yes, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan are very good, strong allies, but not same for all the European countries in Danube River basin. Or it's quite critical in case of Mekong, but still we could see that, we could see how they're managing it. And I think the Mekong River Council is something which is really an example for us to look at. Next slide, please. And data an instrument to interface in South Asian river geopolitics. We know that South Asia is all about geopolitics, and the river is a very, very important part of it. And that's because the rivers coming from the almost same sources like Himalayas being used by various countries for various reasons and the various volume that kind of contribute to the whole discourse and discord on the river sharing of the river. And if you look at it, you will find that the upper riparian, lower riparian basin overlap is there. And often we look at the individual data. We talk about Tista, we talk about Ganga, we don't talk about the 54 rivers that India and Bangladesh share. So that's always a case of looking at the holistic picture rather than isolated picture. And I think here the Tier 2 1.5 has to take leadership. The political leadership have their own issues. But I think the tier 1.5, tier 2 should come up with something very concrete, evidence-driven suggestion, which can be taken up by the Joint River Council or something of the institutions like that. Next slide. Now, river data issues, if you look at the West Bengal in Bangladesh, as I just said, that 54 rivers, but focus on Ganga and Tista, no detailed data available of the entire basin. I was part of the IUCN report in 2014. I actually worked on 9 or 10 rivers out there. And it was very interesting. If you look at the 54 rivers covering 15,000 kilometers, it is broadly split 60-40 in India and Bangladesh. And even origin-wise, 45 are in India, but 6 Bangladesh and 3 in Tibet and Bhutan. So it's just not really always the way traffic. So we need to look at this whole picture. And even if in the West Bengal perspective, during the monsoon, we receive a lot of transboundary water. So we are also dependent on transboundary water. It's not only Bangladesh depends on us for transboundary water, we also depend on them. So that again further underlines the importance of appropriate quality data sharing between the countries who are in the whole structure. Next slide. And I'm just referring data here. I'm not getting into it. The photograph clearly shows the transboundary inflow of water in West Bengal. I have just shown Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, Coach Bihar, and the Northwest Bengal districts. And look at the data, and you can pretty well understand, jolly well understand how much we are dependent on transboundary water. So transboundary water is playing in both sides, and that needs to be reconciled and revisited during just the upper riparian, lower riparian, very simple one-way logic doesn't hold. Next slide, please. And Tista geopolitics. And I worked on Tista a lot, and I have spoken about it a lot. I just would refer one thing. If you look at the Tista, and that's the report, unpublished report of West Bengal government many years back. I can refer it because I wrote it many years back and nobody countered that, so it becomes official in that way. It clearly shows the Tista River had 1/16 of water, what both West Bengal and Bangladesh needs for their work, for their irrigation. And initially it was planned for the almond crop, but we are doing Rabi on that. So clearly those data are not in the, we are not really considering those data seriously. And if we go to the next slide, can we go to the next slide, please? It's very interesting again, not only the data, but the quality of data. When the river water, next slide, please. When we look at the data, look at this, when this measured, if you look at the measurement, I took from starting point from Sikkim to down to Bangladesh. I looked at river Tista data very closely, and I went to the points and found that the volume was measured in India during the noon, when actually the water got struck for the hydropower. There's no water in the river. When the water was released in the evening, there's no measurement. I understand that the same scenario is in Bangladesh. My friends from Bangladesh told me they had the Joint River Commission and others are there. Things might have changed over the last few years, but that was a scenario in 2017 that we are measuring at a long time. And based on the data we are getting, we are preparing our strategy. That's not fair to do. So not only the data, not only the quantity of data, also the quality of data is very important, and we need to look at it very closely. Next slide, please. And the Ganga. This Ganga is now really a bone of contention. I think after the election is over in both Bangladesh and West Bengal also has election during the May, June. After that, these things will again come up by end of this 2026. We are supposed to have a new treaty or the extension of the treaty or whatever the form that is. But that's a political part. But I'm saying that Ganga Treaty, if you look at the Ganga Treaty, are we considering climate change? I again strongly kind of vouch that in case of Ganga, we need to look at 20-25 years data because the things have changed. Bangladesh is getting less water. Similarly, our NTPC at Farakka had to be stopped for a few days. There was no power production because there was no water. So that's the ground reality. The monsoon has been pushed back. So all this need to be accommodated in the whole structure, the quality and quantity of data to get to a new formula, not necessarily to have a new formula, but to have a realistic, pragmatic, practitionable formula we need to have. So that's, I think, very important. Next slide, please.
2 minutes more.
Sure, I'll try to end up within 2 minutes. Now, Ganga geopolitics, again, just a quick point out here. I'm not getting into those details thing. The discord primarily revolves around the historical and observed water flow measurements. Again, that's the whole point. At Farakka here or Hardinj in Bangladesh. So we need to look at those closely. And as I said, we need to have a Mekong model. In Mekong, we saw how the stakeholder countries came together and built up a common Mekong River Council and worked on that. So we don't have a Ganga River Council. Why can't we have it? So that is something very, I don't feel good about this subcontinent. African countries fight among themselves, go to the global COP and talk together. We don't do that. So that's very important to look at. Next slide, and perhaps the last slide. Now, this is one example. I was hearing the first presentation in this session, and something was referred about the August flood in Bangladesh. So when this August flood happened, there was huge flood in Bangladesh affecting part of India. So there was one issue of the Dambar Dam opening up in Tripura and kind of inundating part of Bangladesh. That was being discussed in the public domain a lot. I was working on that story for Down to Earth, and very interesting analysis. I just go into the details. Look at how the water from Damdar barrage down the points have been, what are the value of those, how it gone down or gone up, and when it entered Bangladesh. So these are data in the which are available to a journalist. It must be available to the policymakers as well. And that clearly shows how the whole dynamics operated. So my point is, this is very important, rather to get into the data. Data give you clarity, data give you sanity. I think we need to look at the data. Data may be our way out from this whole geopolitical scenario that we are right now in. So that's, I think that's the last slide. Next slide, please. I think it happens to be my last slide. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time. And over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanta Basu. I'm sure people have a lot of queries now that one Bangladesh-India relationship, and more importantly, the Ganges Treaty is coming for revision, and also the point that whether the Ganges have moved away a little bit out of the Farakka barrage, which is mentioned. We see some of the critical hydrologists from India. So thank you very much. We have 4 discussants, and let me the privilege of inviting Muhammad Abdul Saeed, is the director of Joint Rivers Commission. So Saeed, it's all yours. 5 minutes if you can give your ideas, your thoughts. I know it's very difficult, but pick 1 or 2 issues. I think in that way, you can probably do justice to the 5 minutes. Mr. Said, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Am I audible?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I see so many familiar faces, especially John Doerr, my old friend. Anyway, actually, first we should learn about the complex situation of the delta phenomena. The Bangladesh is the largest delta in the world. It is still very active. We have near about 1,400 rivers, among which 57 are transboundary rivers. If we look at the world, there are near about 267 transboundary rivers flows through 145 countries. In Bangladesh, GBM is the most influential based, though we have 7% catchment only, but more than 90% water is coming from the upstream beyond our boundary. So, you know, we are already on a back foot, being as we are a downstream country, as we are in a very active delta, so we are already disaster prone. So we are already in a back foot position. Our rivers are very dynamic, so we face river erosion problem. We have all kind of flood, monsoon flood, flash flood, cyclonic flood, so all kind of flood. And being a downstream part of the GBM system, we actually depend on the on the positive gesture of cooperation from our basin neighbors. We need, in fact, we need cooperation from our basin neighbors. And also we have to face the climate change impact. So it's a very complex situation. If we want to face the climate change impact properly, we have to manage our transport river system properly. To do that, we have to go for basin-wide management. We have to go for multilateral cooperation. So it is very quite obvious that we need to cooperate. We need to work together with along with our basin neighbors. Now I can tell you one thing that we have shortage in trust. We need to among the basin neighbors, but we can improve it. We always talk about the share of our basin neighbors. We talk about the say for example, we talk about share of Bangladesh, share of India, but we very often forget about the most important stakeholder, that is the river itself. We should consider river as a single entity. From source to sea, we have to consider it as a single entity, irrespective of geographic boundary. To keep the river alive, we have to prioritize the share of the river very first. We should ensure the minimum dry season flow. We have to ensure the environmental flow of the river first to keep it alive, to keep its ecosystem, its biodiversity alive. So in this regard, we can work together. So not only the track one people, here we have some limitations, but track 1.5 and track 2 people, I mean academicians, researchers, activists, they can play a very important role here, and they can provide feedback to track 1, which might be more effective. In GBM basin, so far I know IUCN, Oxfam, and some other organization like ECMOD, they're working in this regard. So they can extend this kind of cooperation, this kind of activity to support track 1 people. I mean track the policymakers and decision makers, both Bangladesh, India, and other countries. That's how we can, extend our cooperation and enhance our, trust. Build a trustworthy, environment, and enhance the cooperation. Dr. Jayanta Bosu, he has already talked about the, data, importance of data. Obviously, data is required to set the strategy. In this regard, say for example, Sundarban is the largest mangrove forest in the world. So it belongs to Bangladesh, majority part to Bangladesh, and a very a significant part to India. To maintain the ecosystem of Sundarban, a sufficient amount of sweet water from the upstream is essential. So the only source of that water is the Ganges. So here, it is a matter of interest for both India and Bangladesh. So both track 1 and track 2 people can work on that issue. Okay. And
Say 1 minute more.
okay. So finally, I would like to summarize that. Besides track 1, track 2 feedback to track people so that they can take the proper decision, and they can track 1 people can work to extend cooperation among the region, among the basin neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Said. Our next discussant is Dr. Zhang Xin from Normal University, Shanghai, China. Dr. Zhang, are you there? Yes.
Yes.
Go. You have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, host. Thank you, all the speakers. I think I had learned a lot from you, and based on the first discussant had already summarized all the speakers' content. I think I had I want to share my learnings from this speeches. First, I think I had learned some notions about collective destiny and also ecological civilization, environmental relevance, and ecologically including development, transit, rooms, climate distributions, and things like that. So, especially what the climate-induced flash floods, I think it's a very global challenge. Yet data sharing also remained hindered by political barriers. But if I shared some experience from China's approach, I think May can contribute a little bit more ideas. So, China has the Yangtze River. It's over 6,000 kilometers long, is protected through integrated management. We call that the digital twin system. This system connected the Yangtze River and the Yellow River together to using the coordinated operation by key homes like the Three Gorges, dams, and providing forecasting, warning, situations, and constant planning. So I think maybe you had also shared the dam informational things. I think it's also a very good view to see whether the dams also can provide very good uses of all the international rivers or waters. Secondly, I think the culture park can be considered. Like we had a kind like a Yangtze National Culture Park. It illustrated how culture rehabilitations and ecological continuity unites. So from 2 different or even more different riverside cultural spaces, find the UNESCO, the culture city, providing like 5,000 years civilization. So after we built this park, which already provide kind like interconnected open culture network. So this kind of a cultural park reflects the culture's China's traditional wisdom of harmony between humanity and nature. So it also, I think, provides space and a sustainable pathway for the works. So, we have a very famous philosopher, Lao Tzu, who said the supreme good is like water, which nourishes all good without contention. So what I think is a commonwealth that concerns life equality. Also, I think river governance should not be done behind closed doors. It must integrate the diverse perspective and wisdom. So just like this conference emphasizes this spirit. And I have learned immensely from the presentations, speakers, and the host discussions. So thank you all for the invitation, and thank you for the inspiration, insights shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Sure, listeners have noted your points, particularly the idea of having an open cultural park. I think that's something which probably will be of use in this part of the world. So thank you for your, less than 5 minutes intervention. The third discussant we have is Mr. Remy Kinna from UN Water Convention Secretariat. Remy, you are there? Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Great. Well, firstly, I'd like to thank the organisers for allowing me the time to participate. Very interesting presenters. I'm going to touch upon a few key points. One of the earlier presentations was around the well, firstly, I'll introduce myself. I'm a legal officer with the Water Convention Secretariat. And yeah, one of my regional focal areas is Asia Pacific, and I've been working very closely with Bangladeshi officials on their accession, but also now to broaden the awareness of the convention within South Asia. So we heard earlier a little bit about the fact that there is this fragmentation around Transboundary Water Corporation in the region. And also by now, everybody's aware that Bangladesh became a party to the convention in June 2025. But we're also aware that there aren't any other parties at present in South Asia. And I wanted to just address this because it is a common question that comes up. So we all know that water corporation is a slow and long-term process, but also the convention itself is not a panacea to solve all the problems of Transboundary Water Corporation.
As called convention.
It's a tool, and one accession is not going to solve any region's particular challenges. We also know that in South Asia, the topic is sensitive. Agreements are bilateral in nature, and governance, as we said, is fragmented. We also know that until recently, the convention and its practical value haven't been very well known. And so really the opportunity is there for the convention and the Secretariat specifically to make a concerted effort to continue showing up, not only as the convention Secretariat, but with all of the actors that we're engaged with, and also to bring those actors into the community of practice of the convention to showcase what the convention is all about. And that's really about sharing information about the convention, participating in important events such as this to showcase and engage in deliberations, and also to address tough questions, clarify the legal application and the practical tools and financial and technical support that can come from engaging in and being a party to the convention. And what we see is it often takes a regional champion to bring awareness to other neighbouring countries and actors in a region to change these perceptions around the convention. We know that in South Asia, up until recently, the convention wasn't even very well known. And we have this phrase at the convention, which is try before you buy. And this is very relevant to Bangladesh. Bangladesh was engaging in the convention since 2011. So the accession to the convention is not something that has happened overnight. It's been a very slow build. And it's been a continual process of Bangladesh coming to the events of the convention on particular technical topics, on monitoring and assessment, on water and climate, on financing transboundary cooperation, and time after time, building up an institutional knowledge of what the convention entails, engaging in that community of practice and seeing what the benefits can be. And an example that I have for those in the room and those who are online who are engaging is Namibia. And Namibia is a party to the convention since 2023. And like Bangladesh, it's the most downstream country in Southern Africa, which is where it's situated. Now, Southern Africa is a region that's really saturated with water agreements. It also has a regional protocol. People said that that region would never really engage with the Water Convention. And again, this was a region that probably had misconceptions about the convention, but also didn't know it very well. And in 2021, similar to Bangladesh, Namibia reached out to the Secretariat wanting to know more about the convention and better understand it. And since then, we were engaging with Namibia to the point where they wanted to become a party because they saw the benefits, not only for their own country, but also for their cooperation with NATO, a party to the convention. Other countries, both downstream and upstream, have become parties to the convention, including Zambia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, which is the most upstream on one of the rivers, Botswana, Malawi, Tanzania, DRC. And this is all just to say that we're at the starting point for South Asia with the Water Convention, in the sense that Bangladesh is now a party. The conversation has started, the conversation is ongoing, and really the conversation is possible because of the strong partnerships that we have in the regions with not only Bangladesh as a party, but also actors such as IUCN, Oxfam TROSA, ActionAid, yourself, ICIMOD in the region, also observer countries. We have Australia online and participating today. Australia is also one of the partners of the convention in the sense that we are partnering with them, also parties to the convention such as Netherlands and Finland. And this community of practice allows us to really showcase and move forward around transboundary cooperation. And one example I will highlight is this recent Pan-Asia training on international water law, which was held in Bangkok, which really showcased that the convention is a powerful and dynamic global legal and intergovernmental framework to convene these actors together, track 1, track 1.5 and track 2, to build capacity and connect the dots on the different initiatives that are taking place. And in that sense, we built a lively and growing community of practice where we brought together in Bangkok in December countries, multilateral development banks. We brought parties and observer states. We brought together civil society, youth actors, academia in one room from across the different subregions of Asia to talk practically about what international water law and what the conventions mean when applied in their contexts. And really, that was a momentous occasion because previously having all of those actors in the room was not possible. And it was really a milestone moment. And I think it shows the value out of the convention for not only Bangladesh, but also for the region of South Asia. And we look forward to working with those people online and others in the room to continue to move the needle bit by bit on transboundary water cooperation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Remy Kinna, for your observation and how the Water Convention can be made good use of, in particular in this part of the region. Our final discussion, we have one more before we wind up this particular session and move to the closing session. We have altogether, 5 minutes, but let me invite Dr. John Lowe. John, are you there? I don't see.
He's here.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yes, John. John, it's all yours for 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Unmute.
You have to unmute. Yeah, now it should
Okay.
be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
okay.
I was trying to unmute, but my techie there wouldn't let me. Anyway, no problem. Thank you, Honourable Chair, Professor Imtiaz, and thank you, ActionAid, especially Farah and Tanzia, but the whole team, many of whom I had the pleasure of meeting in Kuakata last year. Thank you also, Muhabul, for setting the GBM and JRC scene with your analysis. You made a lot of good points and reminded us that it's not all about track one. Thanks also, Imran, for a closer look at some aspects of the TISTA, and my friend Jayanta for reminding that we need data and that it can be a strategic enabler. I'm a strong believer in multiple transboundary tracks, transboundary CSO networks, transboundary research networks, transboundary reportage, and I'm online from the Mekong region where there is quite a lot of this. And following Jayanta's point, I would say that the other tracks can positively nudge track one, which is just worth keeping in mind. So there's three quick points I want to make. So I realise the clock is very much ticking, prompted by the speakers. The first point is that the different actors in any country can really lift the overall country representation in the transboundary fora. And our friend from JRC made that point. In December, at the meeting Remy just mentioned, the ties with respect to the new threat to the Mekong system of unregulated mining and pollution spent a lot of time on the side of that particular international meeting, all informing the country position, all basically sitting with their Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the university, the NGOs, what have you. Between them all, they had very different types of knowledge that they were able to sort of be bringing to bear into the country positions. So it sort of just reminded me a little bit of Afia and the Blue Crew. You know, that there's many people can contribute to a complex situation. The second point is that track one is important. 2019, terrible low flows in the Mekong, lowest for 15 years. US Secretary of State Pompeo blamed the low flows on China. China disagreed. By then, we were in COVID lockdowns, significant tension between the governments, fracture in the research community, lots of speculation. MRC stepped up and did a pretty epic, detailed analysis, unraveling the drivers of the extremely low flows and drought. And they pulled together everything they had, and it was very well received by governments, NGOs, all parties upstream and down. That then led to a bit of an increase in trust, whereby China agreed to a joint study on the changing patterns of hydrological conditions. That then led to sort of, okay, well, what models are we going to use? Let's use each other's, calibrate them together. So they've sort of, it's an iterative process, but it's been one step after another. I don't have time to go into it. I won't. What I would just say is that all countries are still at the table, and they're all going into more detail now, you know, on this second phase of this joint study. There's lots of problems in the Mekong system, but people do know what many of the problems are, and they're still talking about them. And the MRC has made a significant contribution to that. My third and final point, Professor Imtiaz, if you'd allow, is the choreographers of this conference reminded us with the beautiful opening session yesterday and today that the heart also matters. So a real example from today. The River Guardians in the north of Thailand have been working with schools, having children write and draw their thoughts and emotions and concerns about their changing river. Good stuff, but not particularly original. But today I learned that my Prime Minister has received about 30 of these handwritten letters with accompanying drawings and translations, personally directed to Mr. Albanese, asking what he's going to do about it. And if my Prime Minister has received that sort of information, I suspect that leaders in quite a few other countries, in Beijing, Naypyidaw and Washington, may also be receiving the same treatment. So again, we're talking about transboundary cooperation, lots of different ways to nudge the system. Congratulations to you all on your good work, and other areas, regions are also happy to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Well, given the time, I think we can entertain one or two questions, it looks like. Let me begin by asking John actually, because we heard several times about Mekong River Commission. Now, particularly those who are on the platform, way back, John organized, a couple of us from South Asia to look at the Mekong River Commission, go to Laos, to the border of Cambodia, and also Thailand. We need to learn from Mekong River and whether we can reproduce that in South Asia. There was a follow-up meeting for that in Delhi. I was just thinking, something of that can be done now that we have the technology to speak virtually. Well, I understand in-person visit is important, but whether we can have a kind of, I don't know whether I should call it a course or whatever, on the Mekong River Commission, interacting, with South Asians regularly. And my point here would be not to start from high level, policymakers, because bulk of the policymakers are already conformist. It's very difficult to change them. But however, doing something of that at the level of schools and colleges, talented young minds who we know 10 years from now will be in important positions. So I'm thinking whether something of that kind is possible, and whether John would be interested in a project like that. John.
Yeah, really quickly, I think those things are possible. And I think that there are more seeds in South Asia that I'm not as familiar with, but some of the colleagues on the line were speaking earlier of transboundary rivers of South Asia, and there's different initiatives. And there seemed to be less of those, Prof. Imtiaz, when we did that exciting boondoggle, sort of a decade ago. But what I would say, the reason I'm sort of optimistic is that I think that from 1999 to 2019, the Mekong, not the Mekong River Commission, think of the Mekong Cooperation writ large, that the system of cooperation and transparency and the increased normalization, imperfect though it was and still is, that there was a real strengthening of transparency exchange for about 20 years. And then we had several disruptions. 2019, we had COVID, we had we had the great disruption of the academic community caused by sort of US-China tensions and over the causes of these low flows and different things. And then we had a coup in Myanmar because, up until 2019, every year there'd be 300 or 400 people meet together, researchers, CSOs, governments, all six. And it was sort of it was a bit of a jousty, polite place. Everyone felt safe. The last two meetings were in Yangon, and then we sort of lost that, and it's just sort of been rebuilding. But so my optimism is because I've seen it happen and I've seen it grow. I've seen that disruptions can occur, as Mr. Carney mentioned. There can be disruptions, but then good people can sort of say what can we do next? So it's not just the Mekong River Commission in that one Mekong River basin. I think it's the cooperation between that I've seen at a great level between the six countries in the Salween, the Red, the Mekong, the Chao Phraya, the Ayeyarwady. It was going pretty well. It's taken a bit of a hit, but lots of good people trying to rebuild it. Prof. Imtiaz. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Well, we can entertain one more, and this particular question is addressed, I think, Jayanta Boshu would be the best person to respond to this question that we got several, but this particular question. And it is in the context, Jayanta Boshu, if you're listening to me, how can transboundary river management frameworks in South Asia be designed to protect the water security, livelihoods, and rights of downstream communities, which includes Bangladesh as well. Jantam.
Thank you, Professor Ahmed. I think there are several examples. I can refer from my own experience. Right now, I'm working on Kolkata's climate action plan, and when we are working on Kolkata's climate action plan, there we are kind of looking at the data of our river, because you know that Sundarban area, which is hardly 100 kilometers from Kolkata, is one of the in India one of the areas with maximum sea level rise. Sundarban sea level rise is almost double to global average and highest in the country. So Kolkata being 100 kilometers away is definitely will be impacted on that. So now the whole climate action plan is also considering how that can be accommodated into the because otherwise the city will be waterlogged. That's been already in discussion. If you look at the Navi Mumbai, so to say, and when they're building the new bridge, they have put up the bridge about a meter above, considering the next 100 years data. So my point is that there are several factors which are directly or indirectly responsible or linked to the climate change. Most importantly, when we are considering the data set, we should consider the data set for a time which has to be decided by the experts together, not the 40, 50 years traditional data set. It has to be a 20, 25 years data set, because if we go for 40, 45 years, it is going to dilute the impact of climate change, and that is going to impact our implementation. So climate change, both direct factors, indirect factors, and a shorter duration. That's the point I tried to make.
Thank you. Thank you, Jayanto, for that response. Well, let me thank all of you. I don't want to summarize this particular section. We have I think 20 minutes for the last section, where we'll be talking a little bit more, myself and Farah. But let me thank you and just flag this out that transboundary, to do anything different, the mindset has to be changed. Way back, we started with that when some of us who are in the platform, including Deepak Goyali, was involved in establishing the South Asian University. Unfortunately, it became more of an Indian University of South Asia than a South Asian university. We thought of having a faculty of water futures, thematic faculties. That also has not happened. But I've not given up hope. I still interact with them from time to time, with the faculty members. Hopefully, if we can create a good number of critical minds, we probably will be able to reach a point where we can have some of the things that we have discussed yesterday and today flagged in those faculties, and then the young generation can take over and make a better South Asia and regional cooperation than what we have now. So thank you, all of you. Now let's move to the last. We have 20 minutes. I will flag a few things of my understanding or my take from yesterday and today. And of course, Farah will say at the end of her take on this international conference. Now, the 11th international conference, all the 11 that I have attended, I find incredible. And we have published last year the abstracts, the good abstracts of last 10 years. We are still planning a volume out of the research papers because, I think more than 120 to 130 papers must have been presented in the last, and probably one of the biggest, kind of collection that one has made in South Asia, I believe. I don't think anybody has, had regular conference every year. So the idea was good. I always say that Kathmandu has to be congratulated because the idea came when we were in Kathmandu. So, high up, your brain also works. Last 10 years and this year, for me, it always been something new. I will just flag four things that I thought uh, need to be probably retold. And because these are four things that got flagged yesterday and today. The first one goes with the title that we had this time is reimagining. And I said even yesterday that the reimagination has already started, because if you look at not only Kuakata's Water Museum, which was quite a bold attempt when we did, everybody thought, we were crazy, but it worked. And look at how it has, created other institutions, not only in Bangladesh. Even some of my Chinese friends, they got very attracted, and Farah, myself, we were also invited way back. Now they have several water museum in China. They're very quick in implementing whenever they get some new idea. The implementation one has to praise the way they work. But look at the idea of the Living Water Museum that we heard today, Morocco's Museum, not to mention Chokoria's Water School. So one would be to continue reimagining. As I've always said, that humans are not only thinking being, we are also creative being, and we need to dream. Humans are the only beings who dream. Actually, we don't know about dogs and cows whether they dream or not. But humans dream. In fact, we dream and we try to implement our dream. And so, from that point of view, my first point is the reimagination has already started. What we need to do is to continue reimagining. And as I pointed out in my presentation, citing Ibn Arabi and also Einstein, is that imagination is very important, and is much more important than knowledge. So that part, I think, has been well taken. Some of the papers are absolutely, I would say, A plus in giving ideas. I was very much impressed. The second one I think we learned from yesterday's and today's is that monodiscipline will not work. If you want to really transform, things related to water, you need to have I don't want to use the word multidisciplinary. I think the best way would be to use the word post-disciplinary. You have to go beyond disciplines, because when we talk about multidisciplines, each of the disciplines, they hold very strong to their disciplines, and then they try to negotiate from their disciplines. So the word post discipline would be a much better one. You want to go beyond disciplines, because I don't think you can let the ideologists or social scientists work on this and think that it will get resolved. Because even psychology of water creatures is also very important, how the mind looks at water. So the point here is that particular element of getting things done by X number of disciplines. I think that was also flagged yesterday and today, because we had good number of paper presenters and discussions coming from very, very different disciplines. I think that also really worked. My third one would be, when we talk about imagination, we need to be very careful about the context. And if you remember, I highlighted series of dystopias, and when we talked about the dystopias, also, when we talk about disorders, I try to give a sense as to why that is so. So the so-called Madeira syndrome, when it comes to development, you have to be very particular. The world is not rosy. There are interests, there are class interests, there are caste interests, there are all kinds of interests. And so we need to be very attentive to that, how we can overcome that and how we can make our imagination work. We can have imagination, but if it becomes part of profit making, then it gets snubbed. So here, the government, the state, if they are willing to make changes, sometimes they don't because of their compulsions. And I have seen over the years some of the policymakers, they become revolutionary after they retire, not when they are in the chair. That's the other problem. So this is one area that I think we need to really focus and see what kind of development will make sense in the long term. Now that the issue of sustainability is one, climate change, not to mention empowerment. These are big categories, and they all need to interact. My final one is listening to some of the papers. I was struck by particularly one paper which calculated the resources that we would need for Buriganga, because it reminded me of Tagore.
Waste management of grid.
Yeah, how do you manage the waste manage and also make it profitable in one way and resolve the problem that we see in the old Ganga. It reminded me of Tagore's particularly one particular line, and quite a famous one, and that's Akla Cholore. Judito Dakshune Kyu Na Ashe Akla Cholore. If no one hits your call, then go alone. That was one of the Gandhi's favorite line, actually. Whenever he used to talk about Tagore, he always used to say that he was, motivated and energized by Tagore's this particular line, that go alone. So when the person was reading out this particular paper on resolving this issue, not waiting for the government, not waiting for the state, coming out with solution. It reminded me of Akla Chaudhary. I think that's one has to give a plus to the very idea that you can actually work on some of the things, and maybe one day it will catch the attention of the policymakers. And I say from my own experience, I remember writing the first paper on South Asian University way back, but it took 16 years for the policymakers to finally, sit down and agree to South Asian University. When I first presented it in Colombo, I remember everybody laughed and thought, you must be crazy to have a university. Not that it got to where our vision was. As I said, our vision was to have faculties throughout South Asia, not in one particular city. And that's the reason I said it became an Indian University of South Asia. But hopefully, my Indian friends will impress upon their government and also South Asians around. And some of them were in the platform to work and go back to the original idea and see how the mindset can be transformed. So it takes time, 16 to 18 years. There have been other examples of that. Even Water Museum, we still want to make it more bigger, to a point where it will attract a lot of, people from around the world. So it takes time, but once the idea comes, I think the good that one can say that people are thinking about it. So some of the papers, I must say, may not happen tomorrow, or maybe not even a year, but I'm sure it will catch the attention of people sitting somewhere and might get some ideas and start moving things forward. So that's the good part of having a conference like this, getting new ideas, making friends. This time we could not do in person, but hopefully next year we'll be in a better shape to have it in person somewhere in Bangladesh, if not in Kolkata, somewhere else, so that we can have more discussion, not only during the sections, but after the sections. That's more exciting when we have our food and music and the adda that we call in Bangla, for adda for hours. So I will stop there, and now let me invite Farah to say the last words. Farah, sorry.
Thank you. So, wow, we've come to the end of the 11th International Water Conference. Every year, when we think of this taking place, we have to sometimes imagine. And this year we had to reimagine because we could not do it in person. And John rightly says it takes patience, it takes persistence, and it takes some gumption that we're not going to give it up. So even if the external circumstances may not be in your favor. So I'm really, really grateful and thankful to all the speakers, presenters, discussants, participants who joined us for their active, creative engagement and valuable contributions. I was very excited about the artistic segment. Imtiaz did not mention it at all, even though I know he's a great fan of poetry and music. But on both days, I thought that segment was very creative and we could engage artists, children, and there was that element of hope and being able to come out of it was innovative. So that was very interesting. I mean, of course, the discussants, all of them talked about reimagining the requirement for effective water governance and management, particularly in the context of climate change. The interconnectedness was coming up at different points. And I think the national, regional, international collaboration, cooperation was also being picked up. And what Jayanta was saying, that the significance of data, and it needs to come from multiple sources. And it needs to be now designed and framed differently from what we used to do 50 years ago. And of course, when we talk about water governance, it's about the legal frameworks, it's about the gender perspective, it's about justice aspect, and that in both human and ecological justice is critical. And I think the references to all the different legislation that exists, including the UN Water Convention, which has opened up opportunities now for water governance in the country and so at ActionAid, we stand committed. Let me invite you to do the 2027 International Water Conference, which will take place between 20th and the 25th of January, somewhere in Bangladesh. Please block your calendars. Please, think about what you would like to share, where we can be at that point in time, because as in ActionAid, we firmly believe that we have to stand by the frontline communities, amplify their voices, and shape a just and sustainable water futures. So let the conversation flow, let the thinking and the brainstorming and creative ideas flow, and let us do this collective journey towards a water justice. Again, a huge thank you to all of you, and nothing would have been possible without the team. So Imtiaz was very skeptical. Oh, it's not going to be interesting online. But do you still hold that view? Or would you like to say it was quite interesting? Oh, this man's mindset has to change, like the policymakers. Well, look forward to another year and welcoming all of you to our journey together. Thank you so much.
you.